Okay, a week has not actually passed. But, anyway. I don't know how the publishing interval is going to be. It might be like months or something, I don't know. It was a day in real time. So, last time, Yaruko got killed. And, repeatedly, throughout the course of the first 2 chapters, I tried to do Kokuro's first free time event. And I would give her a gift that she appeared to like, and she would just not do the free time event. Now, there was some blurb in the initial, like, super long-winded introduction to free time events where they said some characters weren't nice or whatever, and they'd be hard to talk to. Anyway, and this is something that happens in the commercial Danganranpa often too. Like, if you try to talk to Nagito, if you haven't, after Chapter 1, if you haven't talked to him enough in Chapter 1, he'll do this perpetually for the rest of the game. As well as there's some point in Trigger Happy Havoc where Sakura does this as well, but it's only one particular event slot in that game, not the whole character. Now, for some reason, I had these big brain fart where I thought, well, maybe, you have to talk to her twice. Like, you talk to her and she stiffs you, and then you talk to her again, and then they start, right? You just have to do this because she's just not a naturally high affinity character. But then for some reason I thought that if that were the case, it would probably give you a heart for, like, when you got the first one. Like, when you got stiffed, and I didn't see a heart from when you got stiffed, so after that I just kind of gave up, which is dumb. And then, even worse than that, because that's probably what it is, right? You don't even get a heart until you get a free time event. You don't get that free time event until her intimacy points, or whatever you want to call them, are high enough. Which you do get if you do, like a hang out with her, you know what I mean? And just thought this thing where, probably, I mean, this wasn't necessarily a bad guess, but I was like, had way too much faith in it. Or your ability to do her free time events is dependent on the plot, right? Where eventually she decides, I'm going to work with you now, and then you can do her free time events. And that her first free time event wouldn't trigger in Chapter 1 and 2 was just because her free time events could not be done yet, because the plot didn't allow them at the time. And so therefore, Kokoro couldn't die because, well, you couldn't do her free time events yet. And it would seem really odd for them to make a character whose free time events were post-game only. Now, but there was also the possibility that you could just have to just do stuff twice, which isn't really very efficient at the beginning of the game because I try to get as much free time events and many skills as possible, right? So, I don't know, I always thought there's all this confidence that Kokoro wouldn't die, and then she died. Now, did this affect things? Yes, it did, because as far as trying to guess who the culprit is, because there's all this, like, very explicit detail about who, at what time of day, on what day, went to Kokoro's room to deliver her food, right? And if I were suspicious that Kokoro could die, or at least even maybe you consider the possibility, I would actually take careful notes of who was going there when, because, well, if she died, then that would be very important to figuring out who the culprit was. But I kind of discounted the whole thing because I didn't think she was going to die. I was weirdly confident in that. Which was kind of a big stinky brain fart. And so, I didn't pay attention to this, as I said. As a result, I don't remember who went to give the food to Kokoro when. I don't remember things unless I put specific effort into remembering that specific thing. Right? I don't just naturally absorb information. The way my brain works isn't like that. I don't memorize things unless I try to memorize them. I can play a piece of music over and over and over again repeatedly every day for years and probably still not be able to play it from memory. Unless I specifically decide I'm going to memorize it. I don't accidentally memorize anything. So, yeah, I don't remember that. And I could go back and watch footage I recorded of that, but that's kind of cheating because the maker of this game did not make a game where they apportioned the hints in such a way that they took into account the reader potentially making footage of their gameplay experience and rewatching it, right? That's not how they make these games. It's not how the author intended it to be done, right? They intended you to see whatever they show you once, and whatever they show you twice, right? So I feel that's kind of unfair. They should go back and watch old footage in order to remind myself of who dropped off the food when. So my best guess and best memory is that, which is very lame, is that I don't even remember who went there to discover the body with Sora. I think it was, of course, Teruya is always there. I'm guessing it was Setsuka. That's who I thought perhaps called for Monocro, but I don't remember exactly. And then that morning, that was a noon drop-off. The morning drop-off was done by Yoruko, and I think Yoruko and Otori alone. There wasn't a third person. And then the night before drop-off, that was Yuki, but I tried to recall if Emma was there or not, and I'm not sure if I remember. It's Yuki and someone else, and I think it was probably Emma, if I'm not mistaken. Well, then what's really important is who dropped off the food at noon, lunchtime, the previous day, the day before, like that day, the day before the body was discovered, about 24 hours before the body discovery announcement. And I have no idea who that was, nor who that morning, and so forth. Because that is super important information as to figuring out who the culprit is, I'm really up a creek without a paddle as far as trying to figure out, guess who the culprit is before the trial. I just don't have the tools, and it's kind of like I'm always almost playing a roulette, because it's just so opaque otherwise. It seems very unlikely that whoever dropped off the food like that last night, when she didn't take it up and they assumed that she ate it, because when Yoruko went that morning, there was no food in front of the door. Like, they already knocked on the door and Kokoro didn't answer, and just because the food was missing the next morning doesn't really mean much. The culprit could have come back and grabbed it in order to obscure the time of death. Right, so it doesn't really mean anything that the food at night was taken by them at that morning, but the food in the morning wasn't taken by noon, right? That thing is just kind of like irrelevant, right? What matters really seems to be when she stopped answering the door, which means what matters is who last went in before she stopped answering the door, which would have been the lunchtime on the previous day, which I have no recollection of who that was. Great. Just great. So, I guess I could try some meta stuff, which for me seems to never work. The first is, yes, it seems slightly more likely that the culprit would be a woman, simply because 2 men were killed in Chapter 1, so you would think that the author would compensate by having 2 women die in Chapter 2. Kind of like, Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 of Danganranpa 2, right? Now, this author did introduce Otori, but this author also started with a deficit on men's side. There were 7 men and 8 women. Given that one of those women includes the protagonist, you could say that doesn't count. It's really like 7 to 7 other than the protagonist, it really counts. But one of those men was also Mikado, and he kind of doesn't count either, really. So now it's like 6 to 7 as opposed to 7 to 8. And then if we kill off 2 men, and we introduce one back, now it's 6 to 8, where there's 2 women for every man. 2 women more than men. And if you discount the protag and Shobai, it's 5 to 7 men to women. So now we killed off Kokoro, it's more balanced, but we're going to re-unbalance it if we kill off a man, too. That's something, a pattern you see with commercial Danganronpa pretty almost all the way through. Trigger Happy Havoc, we have man and woman die. 1 man, 1 woman. Chapter 2, we get a man and someone who took up the character slot of a woman. Turned out to be a man, but took up like the space you would put a woman in the character docket. And then the third one is 2 men and a woman, right? You can only divide 3 so even, right? And this 2 women thing sort of compensated a bit for actually killing a man in Chapter 2. And then we killed off a woman in chapter 4, which kind of compensates for the 2 men and 1 woman in chapter 3, which isn't really fully compensated for 2 men being killed in chapter 2 because one of the men was occupying a woman's space, right? Now the pattern kind of breaks when they kill off another woman in chapter 5 because they really killed off 1 man and 2 women in chapter 1, technically. Danganranpa 2, they kill off 2 men. To compensate, they have to do then 2 women. And they do 3 women, but it was already balanced because they already compensated. So they had to compensate for that in chapter 4 by killing off 2 men. Right? So it goes all men, all women, all women, all men. Right? And then in chapter 5, they kill off a man and a woman. So it's balanced all the way through like that. Right? V3, kill off a man and a woman. Then we kill off a man and a woman. Then we kill off a man and 2 women. Then we kill off a man and a woman. And then last week we kill off 2 men, which kind of compensates for killing off a man and 2 women in chapter 3. So, based on this, if you kill off 2 men to start, then you would expect to kill off 2 women the next chapter. I talk about this a lot. But this always did develop the same way. I tried to use it, tends to backfire on me and never really gave me the right answer. So I've learned by now that it's kind of a weak thing. So I have a weak bias. So this is chapter 2. A weak bias toward it being a woman. Right? But it's weak. Another sort of meta thing that I tend to do is try to identify what the protagonist's inner circle is. Now, already we're in this big problem because Kokoro is someone you would actually consider to be the protagonist's inner circle. You're like, what? She'd interact with the protagonist. She would even do your free time events. Like, yes, but she's the big brain, right? The big brain always eventually at the end gets sucked into the protagonist's inner circle, whether they like it or not. Because the protagonist's inner circle, protagonist is just too strong of an attractor. But she died. Kokoro died. But what this does is it gives a weak bias against Yuruko, because she seems to have a high affinity to the protag. Now this could make Yuruko kind of a danger when we get to chapter 5. But we're not there yet, we're only on chapter 2. So, weak bias against Yuruko because of protagonist inner circle. You could say that maybe Satsuka is kind of protagonist inner circle as well, but she's got some funniness to her. I think she's kind of fake protagonist inner circle. Also, Yuki, you go, but he's a protagonist. How is he not in the protagonist inner circle? Well, he doesn't really exist. He just kind of fades into the background. It's just, he's invisible. Just like he's supposed to be, right? Bias against Yuruko because of pick protagonist inner circle. Okay. Also, you'll tend to notice the characters don't do anything. They really have nothing to do with anything, and have no focus throughout the entire chapter, either a line or anything. Tend to be relatively weak candidates for the Blackened. What does this mean? It means it's a bias against Yuki. Because he might as well not be there. You can take him completely out of this chapter, so it would be exactly the same. Are there any others that are just kind of disposable in this chapter? Well, oddly not. You might think Shobai, but remember Shobai was in Yoruko's room. I was in not Yuruko, Kokoro's room. Right after she woke up, right? And she found herself paralyzed. So the thing with Shobai though is that he didn't come back to her room anytime later. He just went to her room at the beginning. and otherwise just seems to kind of not exist otherwise. He's not a very good candidate for a murder, just based on his personality and what my intuition would be about what an author would write, right? He's kind of he's not very good, not a very good choice, right? But he's not, like, invisible by, like, Yuki. He does actually show up and do something once. So it's really a bias against Yuki. By the invisibility criteria. Invisibility meta criteria. The character that you could just remove from the chapter, that just doesn't seem to exist in that chapter, is a character that that's probably not going to die. It just has to do with the whole tendency where you have to before you kill off a character, you gotta use the character, right? So you gotta show something that character contributes to the plot before you kill them off. And it's hard to do that until the chapter before you kill them off, because the previous chapters, you have to do the characters you kill off in those chapters stuff, right? So it tends to be like a character shows their cards, or a character displays their super high school level talent, or has a big character moment and is important to the plot, or just says some big speech just to throw something in as a token. And then they get killed. So, if they don't do that, it seems less likely that they are going to get killed. That's why Yuki doesn't seem like he's going to get killed. Okay. So let's go through the characters one by one. Yuki. Slight bias against him because he's a dude. And also a slight bias against him because he doesn't contribute. Right? He hasn't had his day yet. So, somewhat of a low likely candidate. Not that good, right? Yoruko. Slight bias against her because she's protagonist in her circle. Another thing you have to consider with Yoruko is that she was the red herring in the previous trial. She was like the person in the accused seat. And if you'll notice with Danganranpa, commercial Danganranpa, and and DRA, the previous fan game that this guy wrote, there was a tendency to not have someone who's been a red herring become a blackened later. Trigger Happy Fabric famously has all of the red herrings be survivors. Goodbye Despair, there is a slight exception to this, in that I forgot her name, but she's very cute looking. The super high school level fencer or sword fighter, whatever you want to call her, she is somewhat of a candidate for the blackened in chapter 1, because she goes to use the restroom, right? And that to show that she was actually pooping in there. But she turns out to be the blackened in chapter 2. She isn't the main distractor, though. That is actually Nagito. So, that's how much of a role of a counterexample that is kind of right? It's kind of a stretchy counterexample. Because I'm really talking about the main counterexamples, not the sort of extra people that maybe could have done it, maybe. That brought up the possibility of their being discussed briefly, right? And then there was somewhat of a big exception to the rule in V3 with Gonta. Gonta is like the initial accused in chapter 1 of V3, and then he actually ends up being a blackened later in chapter 4. It's a wide space between being the red herring and the blackened, but it still happened. You could argue, well, I know he was the first red herring, but the main red herring was Suichi. And go like, yeah, but I'm making the first red herring and the main red herring somewhat synonymous with each other. So I still consider Gota the main red herring in V3's first case. But the term main may be kind of misused in that context. But anyway, there's a tendency to not make red herrings blackens later. Because Yoruko was a red herring already, it makes it so that she's less likely to become a blackened later. Just based on, so some sort of psychological thing, something about how people write Danganronpa cases where it seems like this doesn't happen. Also with DRA, previous red herrings did not seem to turn out to be blackens. I think the red herring in the first case was mainly Rei, because she showed up late or something. She ended up surviving. Second case was Akane. She ended up not really surviving, but she didn't become a Blackened later. The third case, they really didn't have a good candidate. They just basically had to figure out the puzzle. Once they figured out the puzzle, then they got a candidate, right? They didn't really have a red herring. The fourth case, it was Otori was the red herring, and he also survives, right? In the fifth case, the red herring is, they really can't figure it out. It's just tragic where the red herring is, they actually vote the red herring. Basically, that's what happens in Chapter 5 of Danganranpa, is they vote for the red herring, and then the mastermind just accepts the results. Anyway. But there is no more trials after that, so it happens in the same trial. So it's easy not to do that. That's another point against Yoruko being the culprit. Then we have Iroha. There really isn't anything biasing against Iroha being the culprit, which is kind of weird. It's like, she very much could be, right? Unless, I mean, PA and PI, right? If I go through my bullets here. F and O. Yeah, I don't know what that means. Okay. If Iroha never went to deliver food to Kokoro, it'd be hard for her to do it, right? I don't specifically remember her ever being someone who did it. But that's because I don't specifically remember. She very well could have, I just didn't remember it, right? Because I don't remember any of that stuff, unfortunately. That's the most important stuff. So she's someone who could have done it. Emma is also someone who could have done it. Michael, but she liked Kokoro. Yeah, but this is Danganranpa, people. Right? Mikado, not yet, right? Not yet. He probably was not next up. It wasn't the Void who was next up to bat, although he probably would have committed murder eventually. Probably the other three Voids were like earlier on the list of people to break the deadlock, right? Before he finally got to Mikado. Nikkei is a dude, slight bias against him, but he could have done it, right? I'm gonna put down as his possible candidate. Yes, I have a thing where it's more likely to be a girl, but that's a weak thing, right? So if Nikkei was the person who did it, it wouldn't be too much of a surprise, right? Setsuka? Yes, could have done it. Shinji? I don't remember ever going to Kokoro's room and to deliver food. That's the problem. I'm pretty sure he never did. But I might be wrong. It also could be a Void. But doesn't seem likely. Ibiki and Kanade. Well, it seems like there's a free time event mechanic that makes them safe, which already I got wrong about Kokoro, but they seem to stop talking to me, and according to the dialogue of the free time event before they stopped talking to me, it seemed like I need to have some event happen in the game where I can split them up and be able to talk to one of them individually in order to continue their free time events. And so it seems like there has to be something happen to the plot layer that hasn't happened yet. It splits them up. It has to split them up into two, not just kill one of them, because how else am I going to do the rest of the other one's free time events? They're both at 2 hearts. They both need to be able to get up to 5. So, very unlikely. Now, there is something of a death flag they did put up, and that they did perform, right? They did display their Super High School level talents. But the free time event thing is just too strong. Again, I still suspect Kanade's a Void, and Voids are more likely to commit the murder, that's true. They're not just being weird. They did have this role they're supposed to play where they commit murders if there's a deadlock. So it would be more likely to be, if one of them is, right, it's still more likely to be Kanade than Ibiki. But I still don't think either of them are. Then we have Shobai, again, not a good candidate. He's just not a good candidate in general. And then we have Otori, who also, okay, here's the most dangerous statement to make in Danganronpa. I'm going to make it anyway. Otori would never do that. He just wouldn't. You might go, but he tried to murder someone in DRA. It's like, this Otori in DRA2, he wouldn't do it. So, yeah. So that leaves best candidates here are Roha, Emma, Nikkei, and Setsuka. Both kind of played their roles out, right? Setsuka is being a leader and doing things and being a mover and shaker. Nikkei has had his personality show through, his kind of skeptical personality, and he's actually saying a lot of stuff and participating now. Emma's had her thing, trying to get Kokoro to join the group. And Iroha hasn't done her thing, really, but, I mean, she says a lot of lines and stuff, right? So those are my three leading candidates. None of them seem very murderous, right? Besides Setsuka, because she seems to be likely to be a void, which makes it weird and opaque. Let me go through the bullets. I don't really have a good argument for why it wouldn't be Shinji. I'm pretty sure it's not Shinji for some reason. Same thing with Shobai. It's like, is it Shinji? Nah. Is it Shobai? Nah. Okay, the victim Kokoro Mitsume. The estimated time of death is unknown. The body was discovered in Kokoro Mitsume's room. Both hands and feet have been disembodied and are missing. There are also second to third degree frostbite all over the body, causing necrosis of the cells. Other possible causes of death: the destruction of cellular tissue is dissection of cellular tissue due to frostbite. There may be other signs. Yeah, there's a suggestion that they cut off one of her hands, or feet, most likely hands, early. Then froze her. They cut off the other three after she was frozen. Which just has to do with the mechanics of how they pull this off. It may not necessarily have anything to do with who did it, right? It's like just like the mechanism, right? You cut off one of her hands. You basically, what you do is you go in to deliver the food, right? Then you swipe her student handbook on your way out. Then it takes some time, I don't know how long, but there's some time before the handbook goes into sleep mode. And it would have been used kind of recently because Kokoro would have used it recently to open the door to receive the food. So, before it goes into sleep mode, and once the other people who came to deliver the food have left, you come back, right? With the student handbook. And then you chop off one of Kokoro's hands. That allows you basically come back to the student handbook before it goes into sleep mode. Chop off one of Kokoro's hands. And you just leave her with a missing hand and leave. Then you come back later with all of your cold equipment and do her in, right? In the meantime, she's in there with a missing hand. And so she can do things like try to leave dying messages and whatever. Mess with the refrigerator, we don't know. I guess. That's the only thing I really can make of the other bloodstain. Doesn't seem to really help point to who did it, as I said. Now, if you were to... Well, really... The accuracy of this is a little bit suspect. Like, her skin looked white in the pictures. I know if you put your hand in something cold, it looks white because the body will try to not put blood there because it acts as like a radiator. It likes to cool your blood down. And your body doesn't want to do that. It wants to retain homeostasis. And so it takes blood away from places that are cold, right? Which doesn't help them. And then as soon as you take your hand out of the cold, suddenly it goes red again because the blood's like rushing back in. It's like, okay, I gotta resupply this because it's been like starved of blood, right? Because the body's initial reaction is, I gotta protect my internal vital stuff. And then it's like, okay, now the threat's gone, I need to now, my internal vital stuff is good, I need to restore, now I need to prioritize trying to get that limb back, right? That being said, burns, cell damage tends to look red. So, if you poured liquid nitrogen all over somebody, I would think that intuitively they would look like sunburned all over and they would be all red. As opposed to being all white. Also, I don't know how much energy it actually takes to suck out of the body to actually freeze it all the way through. So, if you just pour liquid nitrogen on somebody, I don't know how solid they would actually get. How much liquid nitrogen you have to pour for them to actually, like, really freeze. Yeah. Picture may not be very scientific, but anyway. It would definitely hurt tremendously. I do know that. It would be extremely painful to be dyed by liquid nitrogen just kind of poured all over you. Kind of like systematically, right? Because they wouldn't have all been poured on all of her at once. They'd have to, like, you know, go over her body, right? Piece by piece. Anyway. Both Kokuro's hands and Honda and feet were amputated. Why did the killer cut off the limbs and feet? Well, it was to imitate the whole Snow Girl thing. And why else? Well, they would have used one hand in order to, like, use her student handbook. So maybe if they cut off all of them, they would kind of disguise that motivation to cut off one of them. I don't know. Why did the killer cut off her limbs and feet? According to the legend, it said the Snow Girl takes people's limbs after freezing them. Was Kokoro really cursed by the Snow Girl? No. That was just foreshadowing. Apart from the blood flowing from her hand, where Kokoro's corpse was laying, the sheets had dried up blood stains. It looked quite peculiar. I wonder why it's there. Huh. I mean, it could just be that time of the month. But that they probably would, if it was a truth bullet, it would probably be more interesting than that. A drum of stored liquid nitrogen in Kokuro's room. There's a label caution for handling liquid nitrogen on the side. Why did the killer use this object? Setsuka questioned the liquid nitrogen drum. If Kokoro is frozen using it, should there be a sign somewhere in the room indicating that, right? The bed would have been frozen. If you dip something in liquid nitrogen, for liquid nitrogen something, it gets all like hard and brittle and weird, right? So you would see stuff be like all weird because it got liquid nitrogen poured on it. Like there would be a sign in the bed underneath, like the bed underneath Kokoro would be all weird, right? So she's right. If Setsuka is right, where was the nitrogen used? Bag of dry ice was thrown away in Kokoro's room. It was opened and there was no contents left inside, only the empty bag. It's not known what it was used for, but looking at the low room temperature, it's probably used to freeze something. Kokoro's student handbook can only be accessed using a fingerprint and has an automatic power saving function where it turns off at a certain unknown amount of time. Without the handbook, Kokoro's room could not be opened. Refrigerator divider. The refrigerator compartment in Kokoro's room felt odd. The fact that it was partly slanted and bloody, apparently, shows it was most likely used during the crime. It might be nothing but hands were put in there or something. The dying message could be found in the refrigerator as small icicles. They are long and short in length. Placed at the bottom of the fridge, the letters F and O are engraved on both sides. I don't know how many of them had that happen. Oh, it looks like they all have F engraved on them. From that, like, really low resolution picture. Although it looks like the long icicles are penetrating the short icicles. Okay, that's probably a singular plural error in the translation because you don't see plurals like that in Korean. They do have a way of making something plural, but they tend to only use it for people, right? They would say doctors, but they wouldn't say icicles, right? So, they mean a large one is penetrating a small one. And then Kanade said that on the large one, it didn't actually say F and O, it said F and I. So F and I was penetrating F and O. I have absolutely no idea what in the world this means. According to Yuki, who brought the dinner the day before, Yuki, Emma, and Teruya. Okay, so it was Emma. Okay, so I was right. Visited Kokoro, but she did not open the door for them. The meal left last night was missing, which led everyone to assume she was just asleep, or asleep apparently, last night. And again, this doesn't really implicate Yuki and Emma, because, well, Kokoro didn't open the door for them, and they can corroborate with each other that's true. It more implicates those who took the lunch to her the day before. Yuruko's account. On the day of the murder, Yuruko was the one who brought the breakfast and visited Kokoro, but she didn't answer, so Yuruko left it at the doorstep and went to the village as usual. The meal remained the same day until the body was discovered. Something must have happened to Kokoro during that time. Or maybe before. Shobai's account. Shobai seemed confident that he knows the culprit so much that he even felt the need to sleep during most of the investigation. It troubles me to see Shobai so lax in this situation. There might be meaning to his words. Maybe we can use his help if he's willing to cooperate. And so it's just that when they found Shobai in Kokoro's room, that someone in that conversation said something that was a telltale. That was a tell as to who the culprit was going to be, that is. And I totally missed it. But there is a balcony on the monocruise that can be accessed from the 4th floor. So this was not an unlockable scene. This was just important for setting the murder up. It's possible that all the doors are locked at night except for that one. Maybe the culprit could have used this to escape the monocruise. And apparently, according to Shinji, there was also a white sheet there. But it doesn't seem to be in this picture any place to tie the white sheet. Shinji's account. On the morning of the incident, Shinji, who was on a morning jog, saw some cloth on the balcony of the monocruise. Who is doing the laundry today? Something isn't right about it. Right, and you would presume that would be the bed sheets off of Kokoro's bed. Changing room list. In the changing room, there was a small list of states the inventory of small items. Teruya counted them every day. Maybe it was because of the anxiety of the situation. There seemed to be nothing unusual. Yeah, because he's a stock clerk kind of guy. And then we have apparently one of the wigs in the dressing room had some strange fragments on it. There could have been where this come from, and then we presume that the culprit got ice shards in their wig, and they were wearing this wig to dress up as the snow girl when they were doing their thing, right? Which I don't know why they would do, but whatever. I guess it's kind of part of the acting, part of the yeah, which further implicates Emma. So I really have absolutely no idea. This stuff is so opaque, I can't get anything from it. So I'm going to take a WAG, which is a acronym, and it means wild-assed guess. And my WAG is that the person who loved Kokoro so much, or at least appeared to, actually killed her. And that person is potentially a void, based on our free time events. And it's Emma. So I'm going to guess Emma. Now, Emma did go with Yuki. May have gone on the lunch. She may have gone in the dinner, which kind of helps rule her out a little bit. But I still feel like it's Emma. Maybe that whole Seina thing from Blowback is affecting my mind about this. I don't know. So that's my very loose guess. Now let's see what quagmire awaits me. Oh, I gotta do equip skills. Okay, so I don't remember what EXP even does. I mean, it gives you a rank up. I don't know what rank ups do. They give you skill points? I don't know. But let's equip this. This will be useful for the panic talk action like thing. Equip this. This will be very useful. This will be useful. And sure. And I'll try to leave lucky EXP for when I have more skill points. Because it's seemingly the least important of these things. Why is this only 2? Okay. Allow me to give you a brief explanation of the rules of the class trial. The results of the class trial will be decided solely by your votes. If you manage to correctly identify the true blackhead, only they will be punished. But you should vote. If you vote incorrectly, everyone except the blackhead will be punished, and the latter party will be able to escape this. Field trip of mutual killing. I think that we return to this place. But now that we're here, we have no choice but to get through this. Let's get through this mess with everyone. Now then, begin your discussion. We're looking for the person who killed Kokoro. No smack, Yuki. Where should we start? I honestly have no idea. Everyone, there is something I need to tell you. Honestly, don't have any clue on what happened at all. Everyone, please, don't ignore me. I feel you, Yoruko. Mikado, you've got some nerve to speak to us right now. Is it just me, or is my identity slowly fading out of existence? I said this before, and I must repeat myself since it's only getting worse. You can ignore me all you want in everyday life, but you have to listen to me during trials. I, for one, did my fair share of investigating, and I would love to help solve this case with you guys. You got some nerve, eh? I agree, we need to listen to Mikado. Eh, are you sure? Come on, Yuki! It's not like Mikado would let us fail the class trial considering the stakes. And even a testimony from a person like him is still important. Ah, what a woman you are, Sora. No, I'm just doing meta-analysis. I just know that you don't want the killer to not be found out. So, you would actually help us. But most importantly, he could potentially be the Blackened. And though he might be worthless no better than a piece of shit scum, he still might have found an important piece of evidence. You've broken my heart. If Sora says so, then I guess we'll be fine. Now that it's come to this, I'll show you my super high school level piece of evidence. That's probably not what that said. Ultimate piece of evidence to restore your trust in me. Ultimate piece of evidence? Did you already solve the case? Well, no, not yet. Ah, shut up, you're making us all lose focus. Agreed. Well, like Sora said, we shouldn't completely ignore him, but I doubt he'll be of any help. So let us proceed without him. Now back to the start, why don't we go over the overall flow of what happened? Kokoro would have done so, just like last time. Yeah, without Kokoro, we have no way to rely on other than ourselves. Don't worry, sis, I'm here for you. We just straight up ignored Mikado. Guys, cheer up, we can do this, for Kokoro. Alright then, the summary of the case. I mean, it's easier said than done. How should we do this? First, let's talk about the situation just before discovering Kokoro's body. Summary of the case, just like last time. We don't have a clue on who's the culprit, but we should find the solution if we work together. I forgot the controls. Okay, Z. And then shift changes bullets, right? Okay, shift changes the bullet. Okay, that's all I need to know. I'm gonna have the Monokuma file again. Well, sometimes that indicates absorbs, but absorbs haven't been introduced yet. Dead body around lunchtime. But there was no answer from Kokoro. And we became worried about her. And then I heard the commotion and joined you. Okay, so she came later. So I called Monocro to open the door, that's true. And when I entered, Kokoro was found dead. Kokoro died of... Oh, come on. Come on! That delay! So it was Yuki, Sora, and Yuki and Sora and Teruya, and then Satsuki came later. Okay. No, Shinji, we can't be sure of that. Why not? The body was found at that time. Just because we found the body during lunchtime doesn't mean Kokoro died around that time. Even the monochrome file says so. The time of death is unknown. Speaking of which, the monochrome file this time isn't very helpful, is it? Probably because the body was frozen. Even professional police forces and doctors have a hard time determining the time of death for frozen bodies. Well, but monochrome knows everything, Kanade. But if the time of death is unknown, doesn't that mean there's still a possibility that she really died during lunchtime? Certainly a possibility, but the probability is pretty low. I guess this is what we should be talking about. When did Kokoro actually die? Wait, do we really need to? The culprit is already clear as day. What, Nikkei, you already know the culprit? Yes, someone has to jump in and derail things. Who is it? Who's the blackened? Yoruko Kabuya. Need I say more? No. Huh? I know why he's gonna say it's Yoruko, but... No. Yoruko is Kokoro's culprit? Wait, not this again. Why is it always me? You have been Yasuhiro'd. But you're the one who gave Kokoro her breakfast this morning, right? That's the only period of time that anyone would get a chance at Kokoro. What? But Teruya was there. He certainly has a point. She was already dead when the Sora crew arrived during lunchtime. So the mealtime right before then is the most suspicious, and Yoruko was the one who visited her then. Wait, how could I have killed her? I was with Teruya the whole time. Yeah, she's right. The whole point of me joining every visit was so that nobody would try to kill Kokoro in her sick state. So that would mean that you worked with her. Nonsense. So you mean an accomplice? But there's no gain in becoming an accomplice. And Teruya is not a void, so he wouldn't commit a murder in the first place. What the heck, Yuki? Someone who is not a void could potentially commit a murder. I don't think there's more likely to commit a murder if they are a void, because for the voids it's their job, right? But someone who's not a void still could, in theory. Sorry, I was taking my shoes off. Are you sure about that, though? Sure, the chance that he's a void is low. But that's all. In the end, Mikado brought him here, right? I honestly thought it was ridiculous to trust a stranger so naively like that. Nikkei being the Nikkei. So I see why it's like that, so that he could climax his skepticism by accusing Teruya in the trial. That's crazy. I am a kidnapped victim brought here because of Mikado. Nikkei, you're one to talk, suddenly pushing others as the culprit. I'd say you're acting suspicious. Just think about it. There are no periods of time for the murder if those two aren't in together for this. Sure, there are no incentives for accomplices, but Monocro didn't outright deny the possibility. That's why I think they left Kokoro's room and then came back soon afterwards. Because otherwise Teruya would have seen them do their thing, right? And Teruya would not have collaborated with them. Why would he? You? Guys, say something. Yoruko, I know how you feel, but he does have a point. What? We need to discuss this some more, but, considering the order of people that has visited Kokoro, it shouldn't be weird that Yoruko and Teruya are suspicious. We need to talk more about it. Severed limbs, Kokoro's handbook, and Yoruko's account. Okay, I don't know which one we're going to use. Why are you accusing me? The one time the crime could have been committed is when you visited Kokoro. She didn't do anything suspicious at all. Well, we can't deny it. I mean, it's not necessarily right, but we can't deny it. Kokoro ate all her meals until last night. Are we sure about that? But that wasn't yellow. I can't refute it because it's not yellow. The body was found this lunch. Something happened to Kokoro would have been during this morning. These two don't have alibis. Okay, so Yuruko's account. Kokuro's handbook. Okay, Yuruko's account, maybe. That was a surprisingly wild guess there. Nailed it. This is just the beginning, though. Of course I nailed it. If we're talking about alibis, I have one, Nikkei. Sora. Yuruko said it herself. She went to the village right after she left to practice cooking. Yeah, when there was no answer, we left a meal on her doorstep. And Yuruko went straight to the village. She said she was practicing cooking these days. And is there any evidence to back up your claim? Well, I did pass some people on my way there. Oh, I saw her. You were cooking some stew, right? There are plenty of witnesses. If Yuruko went straight to the village afterwards, there would be no time for her to commit the murder. Yuruko, I can understand, but what about Teruya? He entered Kokuro's room every visit. There could have been plenty of chances for him to kill her. Kokuro said she'd open the door only with two or more people when two or more people came to visit her. Thus, under normal circumstances, if anyone entered Kokuro's room to kill her, then we're dealing with more than one culprit. Now that Yuruko's alibi has been confirmed, it would have been impossible for Teruya to kill Kokuro on his own. Thus, the theory of Yuruko and Teruya being accomplices is disproven. No, that alone isn't going to suffice as a valid alibi. The evidence in Kokuro's room supports that. Sorry, but as a reporter, it's my instinct to pursue every last suspicious detail. But you're a reporter, not a lawyer. So let me show you my evidence. Refute me if you can. I hate this minigame in this game. So Z shoots and S changes which kind of bullet to shoot. And, how do I change which bullet is supposed to which kind? Okay, shift to switch. Okay. That should be enough. Setsuka, refrigerator divider, Setsuka's account, Monocro's balcony. Okay. You saw the state of the corpse, didn't you? It was frozen solid. How could Yuruko have done all that in such a short span of time? It would have been impossible to do all that and immediately leave for the village. Okay. There is a way to freeze Coco instantly. Liquid nitrogen. I have to shoot that with... Okay. With Setsuka's account. Okay. So I got Setsuka's account loaded. Now I just have to shoot it on the second round. And he turns on the left, right? Got it. Okay, kind of got that one now. Although I did get that skill that reduced my input lag. No, Nikkei, if you're saying that Yoruko used liquid nitrogen to freeze Kokoro, that's wrong. What are you talking about? You saw the empty drum barrel in the room as plain as day. If she really used that to freeze Kokoro, there would have been some traces left somewhere in the room. However, there were no traces of that. Kokoro's corpse was the only thing that was frozen. Right, Setsuka? Yep, no traces means liquid nitrogen was probably never used. Maybe she could have frozen Koko in some other room before bringing her back in. That would have taken a significant amount of time. Nikkei's proposition was that the crime could have been done in a short time. If Yoruko, our supposed murderer, had taken the body like that, it wouldn't explain how she was able to arrive at the village that early. So Yoruko and Teruya are innocent? I've been telling you that from the start. I know that from a time standpoint, they're suspicious, but Nikkei, aren't you a bit too harsh? Hey, what's with that attitude? You got a problem, Nikkei? Now, let's stop with the fighting. Now that our suspicion on Teruya and Yoruko is cleared, let's get back to the case. I wonder what liquid nitrogen was used for then. It wasn't used for freezing, but it was probably used by the culprit for something, right? Seeing how they left it in the room. No, that probably is a red herring. A red herring, but the drum barrel had a label written liquid nitrogen on it. I'm saying that they probably just stuck that label on it on an empty barrel. The barrel was not for carrying liquid nitrogen anyways. The angle of the label is suspicious as well. Right, liquid nitrogen is not really carried in like a barrel, right? It's like you have that special container that has like multiple layers to it. Insulating layers. It has a bunch of taps on the top. Wait, then how did Kokoro get frozen? It must have been the Ice Woman's curse after all. There's no way that a person could suddenly freeze. That's probably going to show up again in a non-stop debate. Iroha's going to jump in and say, Ice Woman's curse! It's going to be blue. Of course, it's not because of the curse, but how did Yoruko's hand freeze? Yoruko's hand freeze. Or her body, one or the other. There's definitely something used to freeze her in the room, and that is... Can't remember the controls for this. Controls are always weird and hard to remember. Cards are hidden, you'll be given a few letters at the bottom right of the screen. Check to find the missing letters that are displayed on the cards. Match two cards the same letter to punch your answer. Those two cards you pick are the correct answers that are placed at the bottom left. Yeah, this is like a stupid IQ test thing. And not the kind I'm good at. I'm good at some IQ test things, but not these. Okay. Where's the... What? Whoa. I am so up a creek without a paddle here. Okay. There's a match I remembered. Okay. DR, right? No, that's not it. Nope. Lost to heart, right? Okay. What? ID? Freezer? I need to know what the answer is before going into it. It's either... So I presume it's the freeze function in the refrigerator. They, like, stuffed her in the fridge, right? But, like... Okay, FR, ID, GE. Okay. I got it wrong. I remember the GE. Okay, here's one GE. Where's the other GE? Nope. Oh, there we go. Okay. That sucked. I didn't think fridge. Well, I didn't lose all my hearts, so I didn't die, apparently. Oh! I didn't save the game! Shit. I almost cussed. It's probably the refrigerator. The culprit froze Kokoro with the refrigerator? Excluding liquid nitrogen, the only thing we're left with is the refrigerator, but... Is there any proof that the refrigerator was used? Proof the refrigerator was used to freeze Kokoro. It was used for something. Well, I got a heart back all of a sudden. Maybe it was one of my skills. Those traces probably should do it. Refrigerator divider in Kokoro's room was a bit loose. Perhaps it's because the culprit had taken the divider out to fit Kokoro in and then put it back. Kokoro is quite small, so if they squeezed her right in, she'd probably fit in. Squeeze in? Watch your words. What's weird? I mean, we're not squeezing a guy into something, we're squeezing a girl into something. Doesn't have that implication. Not to mention, her refrigerator was set to instant freeze mode. If you've used it before, you should probably definitely know that it's enough to freeze a human being. Okay, so that's what it would feel like. So she was like hard as a rock. Wait, even if it was set to instant freeze, freezing some leftovers and a whole human are completely different. The monochrome file says she was frozen to the point that her cells suffered from necrosis. If she was frozen that badly, that means the culprit left her in for at least a whole day. No, cells don't necrose if they're frozen. Necrosing is a process that doesn't happen in frozen. Wait, that means Kokoro had to be in there since yesterday lunchtime. Yuki, when you were there with me and Teruya yesterday before lunchtime, at dinner time, delivering your Kokoro her meal, there was no answer, right? Yeah, but Yuruko said that dinner was gone that night. It's gone that night. That doesn't make sense. Maybe Yuruko was lying. Why would I lie about something like that? If your refrigerator theory is correct, that means Kokoro should have been inside the fridge last supper. If Yuruko is the culprit... Wait, Yuruko never visited Kokoro yesterday. She never had a chance to enter her room. Oh, okay, well, you solved that for me, Otori. Then who delivered the breakfast yesterday? Me, Iroha, and Teruya. And you spoke to Kokoro? Yep, we chatted for a while. Kokoro even wrote LOL on her iPad. It was such a lovely time. And that we actually were shown that. That means she was alive, at least until then. Who was there for lunch? Me, Kanade, as in Shinji, and Teruya. So we're gonna pin it on Shinji? I mean, there isn't really any reason it's not Shinji. But would he really point out the sheet, though? And did you guys meet Kokoro? Of course, she complained about 4 people being too many. Wait, it's getting a bit too complicated. Someone summarize it up? Roro, can you get me a piece of paper from your sketchbook? Okay. She's better at drawing. Wow, Setsuka. Okay, so Nikkei went but a long time ago. Shinji only went that last time. The twins only went that last time. Emma went in the afternoon, and only in the afternoon yesterday. Huh. Interesting. If we summarize what we talked about, this is our result. I mean, it makes Shinji look really bad, but... Huh. Setsuka, your drawing is adorable, and you drew with such a good summary. I hereby name you the Taking Notes Master. Setsuka, you're good at studying, right? Enough with this drawing, and let's think about the flow of the case with this. I notice how each individual is like, when they're drawn multiple times, they're drawn identically. Because this was done digitally. So, if we simply think about this, Kokoro didn't answer since yesterday night. This means something definitely happened then. Does that mean the visitors right before then? Shinji, Teruya, and the twins together are the culprits? What? Why are we the culprits? They just explained that. I doubt that 4 people were accomplices, especially when the chances of there being even 1 accomplice is close to 0. But according to Yuki, somebody must have killed Kokoro after lunch and before supper yesterday. Wait, that's impossible. I told you it's impossible to enter Kokoro's room when it's not mealtime. That's a rule Kokoro decided herself. And I saw her dinner disappear, so she would have been alive since then in the first place, right? It doesn't really matter that the dinner disappeared, but whatever. But that doesn't give enough time to freeze Kokoro. I have no idea what we're talking about. Talking about you possibly doing it, Shinji. This means that nobody is capable of murder. Chop the hand off, people! Realize the hand chopping. I already came up with a solution to this. It was kind of like lame, but I came up with the theory. I think the refrigerator is the root of this problem. Maybe the culprit didn't use the fridge after all. No. Considering liquid nitrogen was just a red herring. There's no utter way the culprit could have possibly frozen Kokoro. There are other clues. I guess there's supposed to be no other clues, none at all. But we couldn't have only entered the room during mealtime. This is a complete locked room mystery. This is truly difficult. I honestly can't wrap my head around what is going on. I knew it. It's the Ice Woman! Monocro, stop the real trial right now. This isn't a murder, it's a curse. This is in this class trial, I don't mind at all, but I assume you mean you've given up on fighting the culprit? Well, that's not... I mean, does the culprit even exist in the first place? It seems like it's impossible for everyone. Is there any clue pointing towards the culprit? Even a small hint can set us back on the right path. How is that a consent? There is a culprit. This is a case where if you think about the method first, it becomes more difficult. Think about how about we break this thought process by figuring out who the culprit is first. The evidence pointing towards the culprit, I'm sure you know it, Sora. I have high hopes for you, Sora. So I'll help you out. Yeah, I forgot the controls for this too. Okay, so you go up and down with the arrow keys, right? And then you hit the... Okay, so it's just the top and bottom arrow keys and you have to select one. Okay, I don't know what the selection controls are, but whatever. It's just the arrow keys for the words, right? Oh, uh-oh. I need to listen to Kanade carefully. The clue left by Kokoro might help us find the culprit. Oh, it's dying message, right? Okay. Wow, I didn't know. I somehow managed to, like, thread that right. That was weird. Unexpected success. Okay. Liquid nitrogen, dying message, severed limbs, bag of dry ice. It's dying message, right? Okay. Now save the game. That's it, the dying message. The dying message that Kokoro had left. If we figure that out, we can find out who's the culprit. Yep, that's it. Dying message, what's that again? It's a hint that at the killer left by the victim on their last breath. And you said that there was a dying message left? Yes, the icicles inside the refrigerator. It looks like normal icicles, but if you look closely, there are letters written on it. Traces that look like someone's nail marks, presumably Kokoro's. What F-O? Two of them are stuck together. Wait, is one penetrating the other? What does that mean? A dying message should be more intuitive. This feels like some sort of code or something. It's very easy, actually. I've already identified the culprit using this. But Kanade, you know who the culprit is? Who is it? And I'm going to explain right now with this dying message. You have to, like, not overthink it, because it is supposed to be simple. But we don't know what it means. Kanade, we are inclined to hear your explanation. Of course, if we first point out the culprit, then find out the trick that they used, it'll be much easier. Now, this icicle, it looks like they are randomly placed, but there are actually 8 of them. On each end, F and O are written. If you look closely here, 2 of them are stuck together, just like Nikkei said. The penetrating icicle is different from the others. It has an I written on it instead of an O. So does that mean F stands for female? There are 8 icicles and 8 of us. O stands for others. So I literally stands for I, as in myself. Yep, looks like we've at least got a pretty smart brain there, Yuki. On to the 7 O's. On the 7 O's. One of the 7 O's is the penetrating eye. Considering that was Kokoro who made this, we can interpret this message as one of the 7 girls killed me. I don't get it at all, I'm sorry. Well, is the culprit a female? Because it would depend on how they're oriented, right? Wait, did some icicles have F written on them and some of the icicles have I written on them? O written on them? So, I was penetrating an F. Okay. Okay, I think I get it now. So they didn't have both written, like one on each side, like an F on one side and O on the other. It was just F on one side, F on some, O on some other ones. And I penetrating O. I penetrating F. This culprit is a female? Well, that was my theory too. Wait, this alone doesn't pinpoint the culprit at all. All we can get from this is that the killer is a girl. Well, they might have been wearing a wig, right? They would have been wearing a costume, a disguise, right? Well, we can take this one step further to deduce the killer's identity as well. What do you mean? Look carefully at the icicles. They all seem similar, but the I icicle that penetrated the O icicle, the killer's icicle is significantly longer than the others. Keeping up the theory that these icicles represent us girls, the length of these icicles is probably analogous to our heights. So, somebody please summarize this for me. Are you proposing this, the tallest out of all the girls, is the killer? Huh? That's what the dying message means? That would mean the culprit is... Crash! Then I crashed into you, and I went up in flames, should have been the death of me, but then you breathed your breath in me. If you don't have that rasp in your voice, it doesn't work. Then I crashed into you. Anyway. Yeah, I mean, how fitting. Too early, though. That's the problem. This makes it... I'm worried that she's actually the culprit because we're pointing her out too early. The tallest out of all the female students, Emma Mongorobi. Is it you? What? Intermission. Okay. I gotta make sure the skills are still equipped. I don't have to, like, re-equip them. Yeah, okay. They're yellow. Emma, the person that the dying message is pointing to, it has to be you. What? Emma's the culprit? How come? Sora, why would Emma be the killer? I don't know exactly why, I just saw the dying message just like Kanade told me to. The tallest person out of the girls to the culprit, you gotta be Emma, right? Yeah, but still. How could you? Sorry, I'm trying my best to find the culprit who killed Kokoro, and you're saying that I'm the culprit? Even if you're joking, that's way too far! Rah-rah, regardless of the dying message, don't you think it's a bit, Emma was Kokoro's best friend, not to mention she was the most upset out of all of us when Kokoro died. Yeah, personally, I agree with this being too fast. We don't have any decisive clues either. Maybe our interpretation of the dying message was just wrong. Are you all a bunch of idiots? What'd you say? My interpretation is sound as can be. Once you assume that Emma is the culprit, all of the mysteries will now make sense. How dare you? Why would you think that I'm the... Kanade, you're being mean to Im. There's no way that Im could be... Sis? Would you please just shut up? If we're going to be useful, get out of the way. If you're not going to be useful, just get out of the way. Kanade! It seems that Miss Kanade has already solved the case. But judging from the reaction, it just feels like delusion from Miss Little Sis. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Delusion. Kanade, what's wrong? I'm doing a breakdown when I'm not even the culprit. Sora? Yes? You alone believe my reasoning, right? I believe that you can figure out how Emma did it without my explanation. If you are lost, I can give you a hint. Emma's talent. Her talent is the key to this. Right, she put the wig on. Emma's talent. Let's try out Kanade's suggestion. Instead of solving the method to deduce the culprit, let's first pinpoint the culprit and solve how they did it. Alright, let's focus. Logic craft. I forget what this is. No! I accidentally hit no. What in the world is this? What? Oh, is it like Flappy Bird? No, it's like this game. Okay. Why do you do this to me? What did I do? Was super high school level talent? Actress. What do I do here? Well, at least they get recharged. Oh, Philly. At least the hitboxes are loose. Oh, I hit the ceiling. That's apparently damage. What does a super ultra outfit actress do? Act? Okay, so that's arrow keys. But then also, come on, Linuch. Act, really? What does the actress do? Act? School actress is the culprit. Which of the following would be possible? Disguised as another person. Okay, that's I understand. Wakarimashita. It's actually like past tense. I understood. But like they say I understood to mean what English speakers would say is I understand. Wakarimashita. Okay, well Chiaki sort of saved me there. I accidentally skipped it. When you accidentally skip the tutorial. Emma's talent. With the talent of super high school level actress, would it be possible for her to act as someone else? What do you mean? Our former reasoning was denied because Kokuro's dorm room was locked and we all had alibis. What if the Kokoro we met was in fact not the actual Kokoro? What? I am Nikkei. What if Emma was disguised as Kokoro? And what if Kokoro was already dead? Then it would be possible. That's... I mean, Kokoro was met was Emma, but... Sora, are you judging me because of my super high school level talent? No, it's not like that. I'm not only accusing me of murdering my friend, but also judging me because of my talent? Calm down, Emma. Calm down, Emmy. I know how you feel, but how can I calm down after hearing that? I just want to avenge Kokoro. I tried my best, but boo. No, I didn't mean to. Sorry, I think you've gone way too far. I'm sorry, but I don't think Emma's the killer, Sora. Let's think again. Maybe Kanade made a mistake. This is too rough on Emma. Oh, I made a mistake. I have so many new sprites. I didn't know you all at the same level as my sister. You all were at the same level as my sister. I didn't know you all were at the same level as my sister. Disappointing. How dare you. Let's be quiet, Ibiki. I told you that I'll solve this for you. Why do you keep being cocky? Unless, Ibiki, you only has to hear me and rely on me, you know, don't you? Kanade, why? You're so scary. Aside from Kanade's intimidating face, I also believe that it's unfair to accuse Emma as the killer. I don't even have any special reason to doubt her. No. I must protect myself. I trust Kanade and Sora. I'll take their side too, because I got something sparkling after hearing that. I got a little, my body stiffened in various places. It's too harsh, too harsh. Sliver it down a little, everyone. Class trial is sacred. A vulnerable place for completing wisdom. So any conflict has to be resolved with discussion. I'm sorry, but this case can't be solved unless Kanade is right. We have to do this, like, the split thing. Time to do a split thing. Let's calm everyone down and gradually share my opinion. No. Well, at least Shobai's on our side. Disguise. Hear all my reasoning, then you'll understand why you had to disguise. Well, that's not really a rebuttal, but okay. There's no need... Oh. That's where you use disguise. Kokoro went to the actual... act. Wow. That's wrong. Kokoro and Emma have different heights. Oh, there we go. There's the height. I've already used height. Dorm room. Okay. This one's all hard. Why does it have to be so fast? Time? Oh, it's with you. Okay, this is disguise. Okay. Act. To act is her ultimate Tsuruiska level talent, isn't it? Voice. Kokoro didn't use her voice because of the disease, so that's no problem. Job, Yuki. Height. Kokoro did not get out of her bed, so there's no way to check her height. Dorm room. So time is what we use on the first one. Okay. So we start with time. Like how Shobai's on our team, but we have to repeat the same characters over and over again because he doesn't have a refutation we can use. Why is it called a crouch bind? I never understood, like, Okay, fine. Wait, there's no end if we keep arguing like this. I never expected Sora would do this. So, when will you stop arguing? If you assume that what I'm saying is true, then you'll realize the crocodile tears that you've been showing. Kana, you're way too harsh. Okay, fine, let's assume that it would be possible for me to disguise as Kokoro. But even if that's the case, what would that matter? There's no way for me to enter Kokoro's dorm room for Kanade's logic to make sense. No, she fell down. You can say that again. Kokoro's dorm room can only be accessed by Kokoro herself. Whether disguised or not, nobody but Kokoro could open her dorm room without her opening it. This is what we talked about at the beginning, right? Yes, in this case, the biggest problem is the method of entering Kokoro's room. Whatever trick the killer used, he or she had to have entered Kokoro's room before murdering her. There are only 3 chances for us to enter her room. You mean during mealtime, don't you? You see, we're going around in circles. It's no use to discuss the disguise in the first place. What are you talking about, everyone? We definitely had the chance. When we entered Kokoro's door room without even asking her for permission. You mean, we entering her room without being invited in? Kanade seems to know something. Yes, when she passed out. I should listen to her more. When she passed out at the concert. Time to consent with Kanade. Definitely did after a performance when she fell down suddenly, right? Time, they used her student handbook to open the door. Face used her fingerprints, but Kokoro is still alive at that moment. There's no meaning of... Somebody took her student handbook there in the middle of the commotion. They left the room with the student handbook. Then she can enter the dorm room freely without an hindrance. What are you referring to me? Okay. Definitely did after her performance and she fell down suddenly. Right. We used her student handbook to open the door. Right, we used her fingerprints to open the door. But Kokoro is still alive at that moment. There's no meaning of entering the room. What if somebody took her student handbook there in the middle of the commotion? Left the room with the student handbook. Okay. Then she can enter the dorm room freely without hindrance. Is that all? The locked room mystery. Okay, so we're going to refute and say that... This is all correct. Whoa, I accidentally shot. Oops. That gave me a miss penalty. Linear keyboard problems. Your fingers sink into the keyboard. I'm gonna just try this. Okay, I guess that worked. Break! Sometime I'll try to time the chorus to one step closer to that. Get the break at the right time, but One Step Closer by Linkin Park. Kanade, there's a loophole in your argument. A loophole? If somebody had stolen Kokoro's student handbook, obviously he or she might have entered the room freely. Unless the auto power saving mode was activated. Auto power saving mode? You mean a system that automatically turns off the handbook if nobody touches it for a while? Even if somebody stole Kokoro's student handbook, as Kanade said, it is impossible for the one to turn it on again. After it goes off. Unless Kokoro herself tries it. How about touching it constantly so that the power does not go off? That's impossible. You can't manipulate other student handbooks with your hands. While the power saving system is active, it shares the same recognition algorithm with turning on. It only reacts to the owner's fingerprints. What do you mean? Don't say complicated words. In other words, the handbook would go off unless Kokoro herself was using it. As everyone has explained, Kanade, your reasoning doesn't make sense due to this problem. Can I ask everyone here a quick question? What is that about? Iroha has constantly insisted that this case is because of the curse of the snow girl, right? Yeah, so? Why would you believe in such a thing in the first place? Because the snow girl is known to freeze the one she hates and take their hands and feet. And Kokoro died in the same exact way, didn't she? That's right, apparently Kokoro seemed to have been killed in the same way as the snow girl's curse. Well, Kanade is power charactering through this really hard. Obviously she's suggesting, she's trying to give you hints about the chopping off the hands thing, right? But she has it all figured out already to the end. She's Kyokoing this thing. She's doing a Kyoko. I love you, although you are scary. Or as the official game name goes, the Yukiona's curse. Well, anyone but Iroha wouldn't be dumb enough to believe in that curse. Who says I'm dumb? Kanade does. And why do you come out with that again? You're not going to claim that it was the curse, right? Oh, not at all, but it's not the curse. Then why did the killer choose such a cumbersome method of murder? To promote fear? No, but Biggie, please think before you talk. This is obviously a copycat crime, and of course the killer had a reason to do this. Copycat crime, what's that? Literally, it means the case had imitates another case in the past. But this time, she is saying that the case had imitated the legend of Yuki Onna. And what's the reason for that? It's obvious, to conceal the trick of the locked room murder. As Sarah pointed out, Kokoro's student handbook recognizes nothing but her own fingerprints. It will be turned off even if the other person keeps on touching it. Then what if the killer had Kokoro's fingerprints? The reason the killer did such a thing to Kokoro, that evidence at Kokoro's body, that was nothing like the Yuki Onna's curse. This one. Oh, well that is like the curse though. I thought the prompt said nothing like them. It was a translation error. Cut them off, you mean? The killer cut both of Kokoro's hands because she needed her fingerprints? Cutting your fingers to get the fingerprints? That was it? The elements of the Yuki Onna's curse were all just a cover-up? The true intention was the fingerprints? Wait, that means the killer carried a severed hand just to turn on the student handbook, doesn't it? How would they do that? It's not only the matter of hiding it. There would still be a matter of blood and smell. Another thing is the killer didn't need to cut off the feet if they only needed the fingerprints. She didn't have to carry all the hands and feet. As Yuriko pointed out, she only needed a fingertip to get the fingerprint. Then why did she cut them all off? Because if one finger had been cut, it would have been obvious it was for the fingerprint. It's only after the case when we discovered Koko's body anyway. So the killer could only have the fingertip for a while, then cut the rest at a later date. This is what you're trying to say, Kana. Yes, glad you are all starting to be logical. Just to guess, there's no evidence and not enough reason to do such a troublesome task for a fingerprint. No, there is evidence. At the time we discovered Kokoro's body was just beginning to melt and bleed, but there was a dry blood stain on the bed. Strange, isn't it? What do you mean, strange? The dry blood stain was from cutting the fingertip in the beginning. As Setsuka said, the imitation of the legend was just for show. The second island had a great motif of the Yuki Onna's tale, so she used that to divert our attention. Pretty well done, wouldn't you say? Oh, how's that? Does this solve the trouble of how she entered the dorm room? Well, it certainly does explain how Emma entered Kokoro's room, well disguised as her. And more surprisingly, the one who came out last during the performance, when we brought Kokoro back to her room, was... Ta-da, it was Emma. What about it? If she were the last remaining person in the room, she could have stolen the handbook without being noticed by anyone else. Emma, no, it can't be. This is just as Kanade expected. By spotting the killer first and tracing the case back with information from the killer, we could see what we were missing. Combining the reasoning just came out, and what we revealed at first. The killer used the foregoing way to bring out Kokoro's student handbook. And after everyone went to bed, she came back to Kokoro's room before the power went off. Perhaps this is when the real and fake Kokoro were switched. So many switches. And she cut Kokoro's finger off and locked her in the refrigerator. Oh, it connects to the refrigerator trick. My goodness, now we solved all the problems we had at the beginning. The access to the room, the time needed to freeze the body, the alibi problem. Wait, isn't it strange? I thought losing the handbook is a violation of the school rules. If the killer took Kokoro's handbook in that way, she should have been punished. It's not that strange. This was a theft, not a loss. And she died soon after. And the school rules tend to make exceptions for murder. There was a rule saying that? Oh yes, Monocro said so when we opened the door to Kokoro's room and discovered the body. Well, I do believe we're a bit too late on that, though. What do you mean by, for future reference purposes, let's say it's allowed to break the door down in dire situations. The rules are strict, but it shall be forgiven to break them in certain situations, for instance, a murder. Well, since you did go out of your way to call me, I'll open the door this time. Oh, the door's unlocked. Kokoro? Speaking of the school rules, in fact, there's another rule the killer violated for this case. You mean the vandalism, right? Hey, you're quite smart. What do you mean? You can explain it. You said that, big bro. The day after the performance, you saw the broken Yuki Onna statue at the museum during your morning jog. Oh yes, we talked about the vandalism at that time, too. The fact that nobody was punished for the vandalism means they had already committed the murder, and so it was being done for a murder. Yes, it's part of the trick. To increase the plausibility of Yuka Ona's curse, she destroyed the statue to make it seem like it awoke. That's one of the reasons, but the true purpose is different. If you all know now, the essence of this case is the killer's disguise. You can cover skin color using makeup and clothes by wearing Kokoro's, but what about the hair? Hearing that, the Kokoro we met was too similar to the original to consider her as a disguise. How did she make that hair? Eh? Maybe it's because of that piece of evidence? The dressing room. She took a wig from the dressing room inside the museum. That's right. Of course, there were so many kinds of wigs at the dressing room, but there wasn't one that resembles Kokoro's hair, was there? Iroha, do you remember the costume party held at the first night we arrived at on the second island? Yeah, I do. That was all part of this, of course. Do you remember who took care of our hairdressing at that time? It was Emma. But what does the wig have to do with the broken Yuki Onna statue? Next, between the wig and the broken statue. Maybe it's because of that. It wasn't missing. Maybe it's because of the dressing room prop list. What, that? Oh, I saw that too. It's a list that contains the amount of stock for each prop in the dressing room. A list that tells us which wig or clothes amount to how much, like that. If the killer had taken out the wig to disguise as Kokoro, the dressing room would have one wig missing from the list. To cover that, she destroyed the statue and took the hair apart to fill up the inventory. Why did she do something so unnecessary? Nobody would notice one wig missing. Hiding the disguise is most important for the killer, so she might have been concerned about such a minor thing. Indeed, the meticulousness was not in vain. Among us, there was one who memorized all of this list and checked for every single day. What? Who's the pervert? Sorry, it's me. No, I'm sorry. I don't remember very well, but I feel that I had a mistake by made a mistake by not doing such a thing in the past. So. Well, it was a previous work habit, too. I can't bear to be without knowing exact quantities of the stock. Even though Teruya had checked it every day, we didn't even notice that the wig had been disappeared. Someone disappeared the wig! We can say that the killer had been too grandiose. But if the stock had not been filled, Teruya must have noticed a loss, so the killer had the advantage. Or disadvantage. Whatever. Whatever Yuki was trying to say there, it was too typoed. One of the wigs in the dressing room had the pieces of the destroyed statue on it. The inference started from there. Still, we would never have come up with the disguise idea without Kanade's help. No, I was just able to do this because I looked outside of the box. Well, it seems like the identity of the killer is being revealed. Emmy? Emma, you really? Emma, is it really? Are you really the killer? Just confess now. I don't want to argue with you anymore. Are you... Are you that eager to accuse me of being the killer? You've ruined my friendship with Kokoro, my super high school level talent, and everything else. And you still haven't had enough? Don't cry. Once again, I thought it made no sense to suspect you, but after hearing all that, I can't believe those fake tears. She truly deserves the title, the name of the super high school level actress. They look totally real. I still can't find out who's telling the truth. If we vote an innocent as the killer, everyone but the killer dies, right? So if you all have a death wish, so be it. What do you mean? I'm not the killer. All of you are being tricked by Kanade's verbose yet wrong reasoning. If you picked me, then we will all die. And the real killer is laughing among us. Please think again. When will you stop that disgusting act? All of the evidence incriminates you. Sora, you said so, didn't you? If Kokoro hadn't have died, maybe thanks to me talking to her, she would have joined us. I wanted to be her friend no matter what. Which means if I get slain here while I'm innocent, I won't be able to face Kokoro in the afterlife. There's still a chance, trust me. I will contradict your reasoning. I'll prove to you that I'm not the killer. I can do one of these. Let me point out the falsehoods. I hate these. I've just got to find one minor flaw in your sound reasoning. But that minor flaw will prove my innocence. I hope I can change your mind. Okay, we're gonna use like the balcony or something. Or dry ice. Handbook, the killer. Go to the museum. Okay. So it's the balcony. Really impossible for Emma to commit the crime? There must be some evidence to refute that statement. Let's listen to Emma's words carefully. Okay, shift. Balcony. S. Balcony. Oh. Okay, so it's the last thing. It's on the right there. I don't care. Give me it. Yeah, you can just sort of camp there and just take some hits. No, it's possible to get out of the monocruise after the door is locked in the nighttime. What? Now it's arguing blackened is white, Sora. This is not nonsense. It is impossible in the previous island. We got access to something new after the class trial. The balcony door on the 4th floor hall, I mean. Oh, that's right, the balcony door opened after the last trial. The 4th floor of the monocruise isn't that low down, right? She could get out and the ship through there, but it's just too risky. But what if she had a rope-like thing to climb down? Yuki would know. No way, Yuki. Nobody went through the balcony. A rope-like thing. This reminds me of the testimony about the balcony that I heard. Shinji's account. Excuse me, Shinji. Whoa, why'd you call me all of a sudden? Didn't you tell me that you saw something on the balcony side on the morning jog on that day? Oh, you mean that? I think I saw something like a big long cloth being rolled up. So Emma, according to what Shinji said, wouldn't it be possible for the killer to get out of the ship through the balcony during the night? Of course, it's impossible to come back that way, but you know how Hajime did it in the last murder. If the killer had come back just right after the door is opened, nobody would notice her and the perfect crime is achieved. Perhaps what Big Bro saw was the killer quickly retrieving the rope-like thing after coming back from the outside. What? That's just a hypothesis. I don't know any such thing. But the time Shinji mentioned exactly corresponds to that day, doesn't it? Yes, maybe that's the way she used to move out. We've got too much evidence already. Don't you know that a series of hypotheses can be put together as a reasonable argument? Really? Is it really you, Emma? No way, Em did. To sum it up, the killer could enter Kokoro's room freely from that morning. So we had recognized the disguised Kokoro as the real and alive Kokoro. And that made us believe that the case in the locked room murder after her sudden death. In fact, there's another reason to doubt Emma. Since the performance, she had finished her meal very fast. Before that, she had no appetite. Since the performance, she had finished her meal very fast. For that, she had no appetite. Oh! This is written kind of cleverly. Oh, that's relevant! She had never finished the meals with us. Why? Because she had to act as Kokoro. If she's the killer, that is. She demanded us bring 2 meals a day at the appointed time. So Koko must be in the room at those moments. However, at the same time, Emi herself should eat with us to avoid suspicion. Thus she had no choice but to make up a reason to get out of the dining hall and start disguising. Kind of think of it, I believe that was the reason she designated a specific meal time. It was done by Kokoro herself, but now we all know that it was actually the disguised killer. By setting the exact time, she could decrease the risk of an unexpected situation. Everything makes perfect sense. So you're going to doubt me until the end? Even though you're all missing one important fact? There's nothing like that. Stop struggling, because it's getting a bit disgusting. No, it's a thing that was mentioned before. I'll prove you that it is totally impossible for me to disguise as Kokoro. Oh, we have to do it non-stop. Okay. Kokoro's handbook, Shobai's account, dry bloodstain, Yuki's account, bag of dry ice. Okay. You're saying that disguised as Kokoro. Yuki's account we're going to use. That's absolutely impossible. I'm an actress, not a voice actor. I cannot mimic her voice. And there's a height problem too. Both of those are irrelevant. Kokoro have completely different heights. Do you really believe I could disguise as her? Of course, there are 2 difficulties that can be explained by the disease. But think of it as this way. Had there been no disease, her disease was diagnosed this morning, the day of the performance. Well, her disease was all completely fake. But let's throw Shobai's account at it. Emma, did you say endemic disease? What about that? That's weird. Those who weren't with us at Shobai's examination shouldn't know that. Kokoro had been suffering an endemic disease. Those who weren't with us? Everyone except me, Rara, Yuki, and you. And Dr. Shobai and patient Koko. You weren't there, Emma. And how did you know that Kokuro's disease was endemic? What are you talking about? You said that in the dining room. No, we only said that the disease is a rare one, not an endemic one. Well, probably true, but I would have never picked up on that. What? And surely you should know, because Kokoro, as the examination, was actually you, Emma. Tongue slip coming all the way down here. You're getting quite nervous, I guess. Oh my gosh, you can't take it back now. Wait, I just said that it might be an endemic disease. What? See, the both islands we've been were tropical, so I just naturally got the image of an endemic disease. It's just a coincidence, and now you're picking on such a minor thing. Pathetic, the lamest excuse I've ever heard. And it's not important whether the disease is endemic or not anyway, is it? The point is, how did I know that Kokoro was suffering a disease beforehand? She wasn't suffering a disease, you dumb person. Indeed, the killer must have started to prepare for disguise before the examination results came out. So it makes a contradiction if she hadn't been aware of the disease. You got it? How do you know that we were all wrong, don't you? Now you know that we're all wrong, don't you? Well, I have an objection. Was the result true in the first place? Like this. What do you mean? Even if Kokoro is actually Emma, the disease itself was diagnosed by Shobai, wasn't it? Oh, really? Then let's ask him right now. Dude, Mr. Doctor there, who hasn't said a single word yet. Oh, he actually hasn't said anything until now. What were you doing? Don't bother me, I'm busy arranging details of the last business transactions. There are more than 20 businesses that must be dealt simultaneously. I have to prepare for alternatives since I'm wasting my time stuck in here. Jesus, what does he think this life at stake trial is for us? Shobai, sorry, but I want to ask you something. Ask what? You deduced the killers and the trial is all over, isn't it? Just stop wasting time and put an end to it. There still remains the final objection, and we need your testimony to break it, Shobai. During the inspection, you said that, right? You knew the killer from the beginning, and she made a huge mistake. You said that? Shobai, what's your examination? Real? You guys, I have a creed too. As a broker, got it? Examination was no favor, it was a business deal. What are you on about? Never reveal the information about the customers and the business details. That's my creed as a broker. But this is a class trial, and you're gonna stick to that creed crap when your life is at stake? Of course I'm not. The most important thing is my life, you know. However, well, fine. I'll give you special service this time then. My business partner was Kokoro Mitsume, technically, and I feel the need to respect a dead woman. Wait, Shobai. This is the request I received from Kokoro Mitsume. I was attacked by the Void. I want to blow the cover of the Void to attack me, so please make a false examination for my safety. And deliver that fake result to the others. I said, wait. What, do you mean that Kokoro wasn't sick at all? That's a little different. That request was not made by the real Kokoro in the first place. You said you know who the killer is, Shobai. Then you mean that you got who she was just by that request? Because it was weird, obviously. I would not leak you this, but she could have spoken when there was just the two of us. But she used the telepc to converse even in front of me. And moreover, Imamangarobi. That woman said that her body is as hot as lava after Kokoro Mitsume fell down. Why'd she say that? So when Kokoro Mitsume was attacked by the Void and not suffering a disease? Maybe she got burnt with wounds. On reflection, we just acted upon Emma saying she's got a fever. After taking her to her room, we only drugged her and put a wet towel on her face. It was obviously a measure for a disease, not an attack. It seems like Emma had out a bait for us. She's got a fever, inducing us to think of a disease. She used Shobai's examination to nail it down. And we all haven't ever imagined that her disease would be a lie indeed. Wasn't it with you? Well, I wasn't with you at that time, but the story sounds awkward even to me. A healthy person suddenly gets disabled by an unknown endemic disease. Yes, definitely awkward. Yes, it makes no sense. It's completely bizarre and doesn't make sense, yes. I see. She carefully used her words to distract our attention from the suddenness of the examination result. However, what made her get caught by Shobai on the contrary? What do you mean? It doesn't make sense at all. Imamangarobi talking about a favor and Kokoro Mitsume talking about the attack. Of course, I didn't notice the disguise at that time, but I got when the murder took place and who the killer is. And we didn't have to wonder if you told us earlier. Why didn't you say that? I told you, I have a creed shortly. But well, now that you exposed everything, so I felt I don't have to keep it to myself. The secret everyone knows is no more a secret. Hehe. It's checkmate, Emma. No, wait a minute. Something's wrong. I'm not the killer. I'm sorry, Emmy, but it seems like nobody's on your side anymore. Me too. I first thought that Kanade's reasoning was wrong. My reasoning is perfect. Wait. We haven't discussed how the killer dealt with the body yet. I was on the outside of the room when the body was discovered. I couldn't have done anything at that time. You couldn't do that treatment in the morning? After you stopped disguising yourself, you didn't have to open the door for us. So you could do your job whether somebody else visited or not. By job, you mean the final step, right? Yes, take a frozen Kokoro out of the refrigerator and cut off the hands and feet to hide the severed fingertip. Then the room would be full of blood, wouldn't it? There was no trace. Not at all. She was fully frozen down to the cells, so there's no risk of blood spill. Maybe only flesh would splash. Eek, terrible, Then rearrange the refrigerator partitions back to the original, and put liquid nitrogen labeled drum for a distraction. Finally get out of the room and everything's perfect. Wait, there's one thing that bothers me. Kokoro was frozen by the quick freeze mode of the refrigerator, right? Not by liquid nitrogen. No matter how long the freezing was, it must melt if exposed to the room temperature for hours. Indeed, there was blood coming out from the cut surface of the hands and feet. But it was very little. Shouldn't it melt faster in the room temperature? The point is that the melting speed was too slow. Perhaps that's because the killer used that tool to keep the body cool. Dry ice. That's because the killer used dry ice. Dry ice? When the body was discovered, there was cold air and white fog in the room. Of course, we believed it was the liquid nitrogen, but it was actually dry ice. Indeed, the bag of dry ice was at the crime scene. She managed she maintained the temperature with dry ice in order to prevent the body from melting. How is it? You don't have anything to refute, right? M? Why are you being so harsh to me? I didn't do anything wrong, I just wanted to avenge Kokoro. That reasoning based upon coincidence makes me guilty. Emmy? God, enough already. When do you ever stop? Sora, you understand, don't you? I'm not the killer. Please persuade them for me. We're about to be all up. Which side would this reaction be? An act or truth? And all the evidence is indicating Emma is the killer. It's nothing but her being stubborn. Let us present the final evidence to break down her insistence. No, I'll just get my butt kicked. Let's reload, Z. Yeah, it's Z. Oops. Oh, those are double hits. Which one's Z? Oh, shift. Oops. Whoops. Both cannot coexist in one place. Okay. I have one thing to ask everyone. Has anybody else ever visited Kokoro with Emma? Huh? Oh, that's, Of course there isn't anyone, because the Kokoro we saw during the visit was Emma herself. If Emma came to visit, there'd be nobody in Kokoro's dorm room. What are you talking about? Sorry, I definitely visit Kokoro's room. Don't you remember Yuki, Teruya? Oh, that's true. I went there with Emma. On our way out of the dining room, I came to her and suggested we go together. And did Kokoro open the door that time? No, it was last evening, the first time Kokoro didn't open the door for us. Well, obviously, how can it be opened when Emma is outside the room? Instead, what Yuki just said makes her more and more suspicious. The excuse that she had no appetite was in order to leave fast and disguised as Kokoro. So as a result, Emma actually never went for a visit with us. So much for caring about Kokoro when you didn't even visit her. Not didn't, more like couldn't. Perhaps it was an unexpected event for her to receive the suggestion from Yuki. She did try to get out first at that time, indeed. Emma, just give up. You have no defense at this point. No arguments to refute now. Let's summarize the case once more, then you won't be able to refute anymore. No. I accidentally skipped the tutorial for that one too last time. That was intentional, skip the tutorial. This is Mad Hacks. Well, doing Roha's free time events, it just gives you the answer straight up. A bit overpowered, isn't it? Why a hacksaw? Oh. I'm not even studying this. I don't even know why what I'm saying is right. I don't care. I just want to finish this thing. Okay, we'll have Sora explain it to me. The case began with the performance Setsuka set up. During the performance, Kokoro suddenly fell down. At this moment, the culprit said her body is hot as lava to make it seem like she had a disease. But in fact, it was actually an attack by the killer amongst the commotion. We immediately brought Kokoro to her dorm room. We used her finger to turn on the student handbook. The handbook can only be turned on by its owner's fingerprint. This was later used by the killer. The killer pretended to worry about Kokoro and left the room last. It was to steal Kokoro's student handbook. Soon the nighttime came and the killer went back to Kokoro's dorm room after everyone was asleep. After seeing that nobody was watching her, the killer started preparation with ease. First, she lifted up Kokoro, tied up Kokoro, and cut off her fingertip. This was because she needed Kokoro's fingerprint. After she had stopped the bleeding, she put Kokoro into the refrigerator. The refrigerator was at enough size for a person as small as Kokoro when the partitions were removed. Helper then set the refrigerator to instant freeze to freeze Kokoro to death. Then the killer started to prepare for the disguise. Key to this murder was to disguise as Kokoro, thus pretending as if Kokoro was still alive. For that, she collected Kokoro's clothes, but she still needed the hair part for the perfect disguise. Here, the killer took interest in the museum dressing room and started their plan from there. She had to get ready for the disguise before the next morning, but it was impossible for her to get to the museum at nighttime. Get to the museum as nighttime had already come. So the killer used a rope-like thing to jump down from the monocruise through the balcony at the fourth floor. Arriving at the museum, she took out a wig that looked similar to Kokoro's hair from the dressing room. This made a loss in the dressing room props list. So she destroyed the Yuki Onna statue and used its hair to fill the list instead. The destruction not only helped cover the loss, but also gave the sense that the Yuki Onna had awoken. Considering the body's state we discovered, it worked out perfectly. On the next morning, the killer came back to the monocruise right after the door opened to remove the evidence at the balcony. And using Kokoro's student handbook to send a request to Shobai, I was attacked by the void and went to conceal myself to find that void. So please make a false examination upon me and tell my disease to the others that was the request. Shobai and Scrooge accepted this request, but felt that something wasn't quite right as he saw the disguised killer. Remaining silent even in front of Shobai himself, a situation that contradicts with "she's got a fever" mentioned by the killer last night. Perhaps she was able to spot the killer based on these two inconsistencies. He was able to. Anyway, his false examination made us believe that Kokoro had been suffering from a disease, which allowed the killer to overcome the biggest challenge of the disguise, voice and height. In addition, the killer required us to bring meals for her at specific times, so that for that she was disabled. This was to reduce the risk of an unexpected situation and to disguise more easily. Still, the killer had to finish their meal earlier to disguise as Kokoro in advance, and this made her look more suspicious. For a few days after that, we delivered meals to the disguised killer and saw the face of Kokoro, so nobody ever noticed that Kokoro was dying in that very moment. At the same time, Kokoro was gradually being frozen in the refrigerator, but she left a dying message with her last strength. She broke 8 icicles that were created by the instant freeze mode, and carved F on the front and O on the back with her nail. Then on the last icicle, she carved I instead of O, and penetrated the longest icicle through the eye to complete the message. The icicles meant 8 females, namely the tallest girl among all females, which is the one who killed I. In other words, Kokoro. The killer was the tallest among the females. We couldn't have noticed the killer without the dying message. As time had passed, Kokoro finally died and the killer gave up on their disguise. This morning, using the empty drum and the bag of ice she collected the night before, she prepared to finish her crime. First, she put a liquid nitrogen label onto the drum so that we'd mistake the freezing method as the nitrogen, not the refrigerator. Then she took out Kokoro's frozen body and cut her hands and feet off. This was to prevent us from coming up with the idea of the fingerprint from the cut fingertip, and also to pretend that the Yuki Onna's curse had been cast. Then she put dry ice on Kokoro's body to slow down the melting and left the room. After what that remained for us to feel something suspicious as we deliver her meal, and eventually discover her body. The killer this time was fairly cunning and careful. In fact, we might not have noticed her identity if Kokoro had not left the message. The killer who murdered Kokoro was Crash! Well, let's try again. I have to redo it because it crashed. Yay for your Ruko skill. Okay. Yay for, Iroha's skill. Okay, let's see if it crashes this time. Yay, it went through. Could be nobody but you, Emma Mangarobi, the super high school level actress. Nobody but me? You said nobody but me? It's a failure then, ha 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 ha. That stupid matching game probably resulted in that C. 2095 experience. What if Yuki skill got more? Super rank 10, whatever that means. 2 skill points. Okay, I guess what equipping Yuki's skill does is it gives you more skill, gives you more experience, which increases how much you rank up, which can give you more skill points. So you can equip a skill. Crosshair dash skill. Oh, just from doing that? You obtained 11,755 quick coins, so you gotta divide that by 500. Which is like 20 or so, which isn't very many. You gained 2,000 ranks coins. Okay, so you get a 1 for every rank or something? I don't know. 2 for every rank? Cool. Ahem, you finally reached your conclusion. But as you know, it's your second trial. There is only one chance to get it right. Let us find out whether your conclusion was true or not. Ladies and gentlemen, vote for the killer with the button in front of you. Will you make the right choice or the dreadfully wrong one? What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? Yes, I referred to Monokuma there. The deep voice just really doesn't fit this game, I'm sorry. Yes. I want to see the execution stuff, though. That's right, Miss Emma Mongarobi was the culprit of this murder case, a rightful verdict indeed. I must say that your performance was splendid. Emma? Damn it. And I presume that she was a member of Void, right? We had the right answer. Emma was the killer. We already worked it out through the trial, so everyone must have voted for her with confidence. But knowing the answer beforehand didn't make it any less of a shock. I had to accept that one of your classmates committed murder. Why? Just why? Kokoro was your close friend. Why did you kill her, Emma? Why would you ask that when there's one reason? It's because she's a void. Aren't you a void, Machan, huh?
Why?
Hey, isn't it too early to decide that? How can we be so sure that being a murderer equals being a void? It would be best if Emma explained it to us herself. Emma, tell us the reason you murdered Kokoro. No need to mind my presence, Miss Mongarobi. Speak freely as you desire. What's he talking about? Your abilities far exceeded Mr. Makanuchi, so I put my trust in you. You may use your remaining time any way you want. I remained silent since the end of the trial. Emma suddenly let out a deep breath and began talking. There is no particular reason. I did it because I am a void. Just like you said, that is all. Just like Hajime was, I am Mikado's co-conspirator and ally too. I'm sorry if you expected something heroic from me. Emma's beautiful face became contorted as she spoke. It looked surprisingly similar to Hajime's appearance in the last trial. Void? See, I told you. But the Voids, weren't they no longer willing to work with Mikado after he betrayed them? Betrayed, yes. Hajime died, and we weren't told we would die for real also. From our perspective, it's true that Mikado betrayed us. And why? Why did you murder somebody? It's too late to turn back. Us Voids, we cannot be saved, even if we decide to not follow our plan at this point. If we antagonized Mikado and helped you escape this island, there would be nothing left for us. She didn't have to go as far as murder. I don't know what your motive was, but we could have helped you overcome it. Okay, Reijuki might surface here. It's not something that can be magically solved like that. You don't know anything about us. We have our own reasons for doing this. Is that why you killed Kokoro? Was to carry out the plan as a member of Void? Kokoro said that Hajime's murder was planned in advance. They must have a goal that should be accomplished no matter what. Even if it means killing someone and risking execution. So Emma was supposed to murder too? That is one point that I find strange as well. I am certain it wasn't Miss Mongarobi's turn yet. What do you mean? Oh, the little twist. Allow me to give a brief explanation. Each of the 5 Voids has to commit a murder in a set order. I thought it was only if a different murder hadn't occurred first, though. I believe Mr. Makanuchi has mentioned this. Miss Makanuchi has mentioned this before. Of course, anyone else is welcome to kill. You may consider this as a safeguard against deadlocks. If only Voids commit murder, other Voids with knowledge of the kill order would instantly know. They detonated the culprit long before the trial. It would be like watching a mystery TV show after being spoiled the ending. Neither fair nor entertaining. However, it is surely a great merit to know who is supposed to murder next. Then, if it wasn't Emma's turn yet, I was perplexed after realizing who the culprit was. The occurrence of a non-Void murder within my expectation, but Void's mudding up the kill order. It would have been nice if I was informed of this in advance. I'm sorry, Mikado, I messed up the reenactment. No need to apologize. Although you may not have noticed it, you reenacted the case to a fine extent. Kokoro Mitsume, because that woman got on my nerves. I had to kill her. But you were really close to her, why? Still gonna die soon, I'll tell you. I'm the Super High School level actor, you idiot! It was when we were watching the twins' performance. What's the matter, Kokoro? The concert's still going on. Why'd you want to have a talk all of a sudden? This is also for your own sake, I hope you understand. Emma, you have been encouraging me to join the rest of you for the past few days, correct? Right, oh, you finally want to join us? Well, I believe you can suppose so. But only under one condition. A condition? I have plans to cooperate and resolve the situation with the rest of us if you decide to work with us, Emma. And what do you mean by that? I don't know. Can't you understand? My condition is for you, a member of Void, to stop working with them and join us. What are you talking about? Me, a Void? I admit you have done a great job so far, but your acting won't work here. You cannot deceive me, Emma Mangarobi. You are a Void. Don't worry. If I had intended to reveal your identity to everyone, I would have already done so. I know a few others who are quite likely to be in Void as well. Still, I am proposing this offer to you because you always approach me with a friendly attitude. I think you will be able to be of great help. I hope you do not make unwise decisions here like I am. And... Man, you've done goofed, Kokoro. Such as attacking me. It is not imprudent enough to talk one-on-one with a dangerous individual like you. Besides, everyone will witness your crime, even if you do succeed. I have asked Rio Tori to act as my bodyguard a few days ago. He should be watching us now. If you're planning any tricks, give up. What do you want? Just as I said, come to our side. Tell everyone that you're a Void. And share any information you have about Void and Mikado Sanoji. We need the Void's information in order to work out the problem. In fact, I have a fairly convincing suspicion about who Mikado Sanoji might be. If the Void's testimony backs it up, we may be able to escape this island. There are 2 more Voids among us. If I become a traitor, you know what they'll do. No need to be concerned. I believe I know who they are. If you choose to join us, I will make them follow you to join our side. It's easy to say that. We Voids have a reason to be committed to our plan, even as far as to resort to these dirty methods. I don't know how you managed to expose me, but I can't back down here. Even if it's against you, Kokoro. Do you know our pain? Our suffering? Do you know how much? Why don't you try our almighty mind reading on me? At last, you expressed your honest feelings. What? For the last few days, Emma, you constantly tried to get along with me. As a Super High School level actress, you played a pure-hearted friend with a level of sincerity that even I couldn't doubt. Of course, your real purpose was to keep watch on me, someone who poses a threat to Void. Your overly perfect kindness, nothing but purity in your mind. I was able to notice that you're a Void using these hints. But at the same time, I wanted to know how you truly felt. Regardless of your intent, you were the first to become this close to me. Kokoro? Finally, after pushing you this far, I can now understand you. Which makes me want you to join us even more, Emma. But don't worry, whether it's about your father or your adoptive parents, we'll do the best we can to help you. What? I told you earlier, because you showed me your honest feelings, I can understand you now. When I read a defenseless person's mind, I can naturally see their feelings. Read. Your dark past, Void's motives, I saw how it was all like. You saw it? I apologize for doing it without your consent, but this was the only way to convince... Emma? No. This emotion is... a twisted, no, a monster. No, I'll do whatever you say. I'll bring money. Please don't hurt me. Wait, Mr. Otori? That's... I see. Miss Mitsume was touched by Miss Mangarobi's raw nerve. What are you talking about? Miss Mangarobi had lived a terrible past which she absolutely loathes to recall. Which we know about because we did our free time events. And of course, Otori was not paying attention. I could say it's similar to a cycle, because Otori is useless as usual. I could say it's similar to a psychological trauma. The mere act of recalling it is enough to cause her seizures even in normal settings. When combined with her complex feelings and the shock of being exposed, Miss Magarobi couldn't control her emotional outbursts anymore. So it was an accidental murder then. Now I understand why Emma committed murder, even when it wasn't her turn. I'm sorry, everyone. As Emma just said, the day after I woke up on this island, Kokoro gave me a personal request. Said I was going to focus completely on finding the voids. And concerned with other voids targeting her. She told me to watch her from a close distance and come to help in case something happens. She must have chose you because you were the least likely to be a void. Wait a minute, Kokoro said that? She made a whole announcement to tell us that she's not going to care whatsoever about void. She said it was to deduce the voids. She wasn't sure who was in void. So she pretended to be ignorant and worked in secret. Kokoro really wanted to help us. But I couldn't save her. I was distracted by the concert and took my eyes off. I left Kokoro to be attacked and die right under my nose. You don't have to feel responsible, Teruya. It's just the way you are. No one would have expected to attack her in the crowded place like that. Yeah, and that would mean it's our fault too for doing the concert. If Kanade and I looked more closely at the audience, this wouldn't have. I know the audience was looking towards the stage, but why didn't the twins see that? Kanade always closes her eyes when playing the guitar, which we saw in the image. And I can't see very far when I focus on communicating with people in the front lines. And you close one of your eyes. Stop it, this isn't the time to blame everyone. We were just unlucky that all these events happened at once. It's already done, but I don't regret it. It was bound to happen someday. After all, this is a curse ingrained in my memory. Even if Kokoro did not bring up my past, I would never have betrayed Void. As a Void, I will put everyone in the one last hope we have. Put everything in the one last hope we have, even if it costs you your life. Yes. Besides, I would know better than a dead person if the plan. I would know better than a dead person if the plan fails. Really? Huh? Do you really have no regrets? Big Sis has a gut feeling that you really felt happy when you were with Kokoro. Same when you were with us. Hajime said he enjoyed being with us too. She's right. Void is the only doing this because they were forced to by some unknown reason. It's not too late. You can recompense for what you did later. For now. Don't you think we should work together to give Mikado a big kick in the butt? Mikado, I'm done. Start my execution now. Would it be alright? I can't. I don't think I can face you all any longer. If I stand here for no moment, I won't be able to remain a void. No one but Emma herself could ever know whether she was putting on an act or not. But I could tell that she looked incredibly distressed at that time. Knowing that a classmate committed murder, hearing that she was a void, troubled by mixed feelings, everyone had lost their words and merely stood watching her. I'll say one last thing. Shinji's plan. I don't think it was fundamentally in the wrong direction. If we had another way out, we wouldn't have agreed to join this nasty plan. Hajime felt it, and I did too. If we met you in another setting, we would have stayed as good friends. But while the plan is in action, all of this process means nothing. I'm gonna cross off Kokoro. No matter what you all do, the outcome is already set. Just like how I'm about to die despite my struggles. The outcome is already set, though I will die as another sacrifice to the plan. You should try working against it in the way you believe in. That's all I can say. Emma, are you okay with that? It's your last chance. Can't you tell us something to strike back at Mikado with, at the very least? Your words are of no use. The other voice, as well as Miss Magarobi, has already realized the state they are in. This is their only choice. They must put every bit of themselves in this plan. Just what is this plan you keep mentioning? I can't logically put together anything you or the Void say. And you're the power character. Well, it would not make much of a difference, even if Miss Mongarobi or I told our plan to everyone here. As Miss Mongarobi said, the outcome is already set. Everything in here is only a step leading toward that outcome. In any case, we should salute Emma's determined resolution. Keeping calm in her current position isn't as easy task to do. We salute to her resolution. Ah, this is Miss Mongarobi's favorite type of joke. Oh, true. I don't care, just kill me. Alright, I'm glad to have worked with such an outstanding person. It's almost a shame that I have to execute her myself. But are you certain about this? The subject of death is not something to be taken lightly. Even more so than you think. Only a few minutes left. You'll be executed shortly after. Prepare to take in the full experience of the last moment of your life. Since the atmosphere has cooled down, this looks like a fitting moment to begin the execution. I have prepared a special punishment for the blackened in this case. Miss Emma Mongarobi, the ultimate super high school level actress. To die. I'm going to die. Hold on, don't start it yet. I think I'm scared. Then shall we start? I don't want to die. I still want to live. I don't want to be killed. Punishment time! Yes, they gotta not want to die. Like, it's no fun when they want to die, you know? VD. Team Void Pictures. Is that a Harry Potter thing?
So serious.
Red. Poor woman, you were never paid back for your efforts. Farewell. May her remains rest in peace. Ah. An excellent colleague, I must say. But you too were an average being in the end. Begging for your life at the last minute. A pure disgrace. Please no more. How? How long do we keep doing this? Damn it. Is it over? Can I leave now? Hey you, what's up with that attitude when you've done nothing? Shouldn't you be used to it by now? I say mind your own business. Shoba, I don't care what you do, but aren't you in need of a way to get out of this place too? I can look after myself. Quit bothering me. Oh, was it Emma Mongarobi? I heard her speaking. Kokoro Mitsume, that woman, what she said back then, is quite bothering. Her death might have been a greater loss than I thought. What's he talking about? He just stepped out. Well, everyone, thank you for your hard work. Although there may be less of us now, let us not lose our spirit and return to a normal life. Even happiness itself will be frightened to come your despondent looks. What a spiteful person, even till the end. The second class trial was over. The culprit of the second murder was executed. Regardless of who she was, this was the death of a friend who we spent the past few days with. Like I did in Hajime's case, I wasn't able to get used to this feeling. And all that remained in the courtroom was an extremely unpleasant feeling. Even Setsuka and Shinji, who have been our pillars of strength, kept silent as they've lost their energy. Stop crying, Iroha. Guys, I don't know what to say, but let's not give up here. No, not this man. What should they have said at a time like this? Damn. Everyone? Oh, I never thought I'd agree with Mikado. Big sis. You guys snap out of it. Hibiki. What are y'all doing? You and Mikado said so. We shouldn't be let down. Let's return to a normal life. Are you gonna stay up all night here, huh? Did she have an alternate personality or something? Honestly, I'm feeling a lot of guilt right now. Hache and Nim, I'm the indirect cause of both their murders. We threw a party led to Ri dying because I was complaining all the time. And Suka planned the concert where Coco was attacked because of me. Yeah, right, so what? Isn't this where you normally start crying like a baby? Be quiet! And yeah, this is a hard time, but if I keep being peevish and whiny, I'm going to make another murder happen. Not at all, it's not your fault. Don't put the blame on yourself. Now I realize that I have to change when Suka cheered me up last time. And even more so, I don't want to be a burden to the rest of you. Haha, I guess we should do something too to match up with little Beaky's heartwarming speech. Why are you calling me little Beaky? Right, Emma's words gave confidence to my beliefs. Voids are victims too. I have no idea about their purpose, but they felt some sense of intimacy with us and fellowship with each other. They're being a part of this plan only because they had no other choice. If we find another way to help them, we could solve everything. I won't let any more people die. I won't give up. Guys, cheer up. We'll get through this. Everyone? It seemed as if Abiki brought the depressing atmosphere back to life. If you think about it, wouldn't she be the person who changed the most upon coming to this island? Survivorship flag! After going through a series of events, Abiki had now developed a mature and motivating attitude. With a few exceptions, of course. Like hell we will. What? If you're gonna keep playing friends with each other, leave me out. I'm going to do this by myself now. Okay, what's the matter all of a sudden? It's not all of a sudden. Didn't I tell you this was an overly complacent approach? Shinji and the Voids are victims too. But so what? That doesn't make them any less of a criminal. And we don't know what they're going to come after, when they're going to come after us. Well, I'm not keeping you back if you still want to call them friends and whatnot. What, you promised to be in our group and now you're running on us like it's nothing? Turning on us like it's nothing? Are you a Void? Is it because you're a Void? Think whatever you want. It's just that I can't trust that your naive approach will work. From this point on, I'm on my own, like Shobai. Good luck with that strange Teruya guy. Geez, that fellow. Why is he suddenly acting like that? Suddenly might not be the right word. Nick seemed to have his own complaints even before the murder. He could be on his own. I don't want to let him join either. Then shouldn't we all start moving? Sure. We'll think of what to do next after getting back up. Roha, do you feel okay now? Yeah, I'm sorry for the mess earlier. Yuki, we should go. Yuki? Oh, wait, what? Oh yeah, we should leave. What's wrong? You were spacing out. Yu is a big fan of Im. I know how you feel, but try to cheer up Im. For Im, Yu. It's not because of that. Oh, did I say something I wasn't supposed to? Looks like everyone's not in their best condition. It's understandable, though. There's still a meaning to trying to stay bright, so let's bear this hardship together. Okay, let's go up, Kanade. This isn't like Abiki at all. What are you doing, Kanade? Are you gonna keep your big sis waiting? Get your feet moving. Sorry, big sis, I'm coming. Our moment of delight was cut short by Nikkei, followed by a few others that looked fairly different than usual. I couldn't imagine how this small crack in our relationship would play out. Though we were all worried about the same problem, none chose to verbalize it, and we finally decided to get rest for the day. It's night after the class trial. We agreed to put off thinking where to go from here until tomorrow and get some rest. Emma. Void. We don't have any clues about them. What is their objective? For what reason would they carry out a plan like this? Continuously turning over in my mind questions I could never understand, I descended into the ocean of sleep. Yes, things will get important from now on. I'll do my best to look for the thing you told me. Be careful, act normal in Void, and don't let them find out. Yes, I know. Just count on Big Sis. For everything. I see what they did there. The number of the void. Yes. It's a bit boring to be here alone. I want to do something, but I can't even move around when I'm like this. This must be my punishment for committing such an unforgivable crime. I hope the other guys don't go down my road. Huh? Hajime, so we meet again. Monster! Gross, it's a necro! Me a monster? How rude. It's me, Emma, a void like you. What, Emma? This pile of flesh that looks like it came straight out of a B-movie is Emma? Wait a second, if you're here looking like that... Yes, it's what you're thinking right now. I died, I was foolishly bound to the past, and committed murder because of it. Why, Mikado betrayed me, and you saw me going through all that. Then why did you? Hey, does it really matter? After all, we're just piles of matter. We are dead. Whatever the living people might do, we have no right to interfere. True. Anyway, why don't we catch up on things we've missed? We had to hide our involvement in Void since the plan was enacted, so we didn't have a lot of opportunities to talk like this. Wait. Don't come too close to me. I have no idea how you died, but you look disgusting. What? That's very obnoxious of you. And you look exactly the same as me, Hajime. Only difference being you're filled inside of a doll. No, I'm different. Appearance is all that matters, you know. Oh, so you want to do it that way, huh? Do it what way? Fine. Then I have no choice but to rip open that doll and show what you really are. Don't come any closer, you're making me sick. And Emma, I think you're about to unleash your old temper again. Let's have a friendly inside-out talk together. I don't need to be inside out. I had a dream. A dream of recent memories, though they felt ever so distant. Ah, Sora, the sky today is simply beautiful. But guess what's even more beautiful? The true beauty of Sora. Oh, perfect timing. Get a load of this drink. Your body will thank me later. Don't be so down. We'll get out of here eventually. I'll try to do my best. Sora, do you know how much a polar bear weighs? Enough to break the ice. They all left us. People that won't ever return. They are forever gone, yet I couldn't do anything for them. For the ones we have left, for myself as well. There's nothing I could do. This punishment. Why are you of all people saying that right now? Talk about hypocrites. Punishment? Think about the things you've committed. Do you really think you're worthy of mentioning such hope? Additionally, another trial has concluded. The Mono Cruise is off sailing right now. Mono Cruise heading for the third island. The expected cruise time is the same as the last, so please keep that in mind. Please don't commit yourself to dangerous acts that would lead to you falling off the boat. I wish you all happy, peaceful sailing. I had a startling dream where someone said that I did something bad. Students who had died came back to me one by one. After that, though I don't remember exactly, I heard someone's voice. Oh, why is my face so wet? What's this? Was this tears? Interesting, I'm crying right now? What is this? I don't feel sad at all, yet tears are falling from my face. Is it because I saw my dead friends? I'll come to think of it, the boat is sailing as of now. I guess then I should eat something first. Okay, now I can save my game. Let's see the stats first though. I have all my fatigues back. Okay, cool. Code card balance. You know, I should do that before I save my game. Just so it gets over with. And what's that sound? Some kind of hammering. Yo, Yuki, that part's still loose. Do it again. Sorry, bro. Shinji, what should we do with the remaining wood? I think we'll just be fine to throw them away. Hey, you boys, good morning. Whoa, Sora, good morning. Good morning, Sora. What are you doing hammering? It's the girls' floor, you know that, don't you? Shinji suggested we block up the balcony door. The balcony? Hajime, Emma, they all got out of the model cruise during the night, you know, to prepare for their murder plan. So we're trying to make it impossible to leave the ship during the night. That makes sense considering the balcony was used by Emma during her murder. It would be dangerous to just leave it be. Yeah, and I have figured a way to prevent people from leaving the ship before nighttime comes. I'll talk about it during breakfast. Sora, you go on ahead. We'll catch up to you after we're done. No, I'll help. I'll get done. It'll get done faster this way. No, there's no need to. It's already almost done. You can leave the hard work to us. It's fine. I'm pretty strong, at least compared to Yuki. All right, we give up. Then please lend us a hand. Poor Yuki. I helped Shinji, Yuki, and Teruya block the balcony door, and the four of us went to the dining hall. I get teleported? Oh, phooey. This was not my intention. Good morning, everyone. Sora, you're late. Teruya, Shinji, Yuki, you're here too. Why are you so late? The food has gotten all cold. Why is everyone so late today? Sorry, we were just doing something that Shinji suggested. Wait, what do you mean by everyone? Oh, you see, we have lots of empty seats today. Oh, I see Setsuka is in here. Nikkei as well. Nikkei, forget him. There's no chance. What do you mean? We should just leave him? Of course, do you know what he said before you guys came? I will never get along with the likes of you from now on. I expect that you treat me the same. What's up? What's he up to? He did say yesterday that he's going to work solo from now on. Even so, it's not just him who's scared. We all don't know who the voids are, but we're still hanging on, which resulted in more victims. What? No, that wasn't what I'm a bit nervous. Hey, Yuki, we should stop and first sit down for now. We all waited for you, so why don't we eat first? Setsuka isn't here yet, but we can't wait forever, right? Yeah, look, Mikado did a great job with food, so let's eat. So Yuki's gonna do is Yuki gets negative Yuki, right? So why were you guys late? We were closing the 4th floor balcony at Shinji's request. Balcony, why? He said it was because the two killers had all slipped out of the motor cruise during nighttime. But we were to stop that. We also need to block the front gate as well. Hajime used the front gate to get out even before the balcony was open, remember? Kanade, I have sort of idea on that. True, even if we block the balcony, if anyone leaves through the main gate before nighttime, there's no way to stop that. And how about we do this? We check the number of people remaining inside the motor cruise right before nighttime. Think of it as a roll call. Oh, that's not too bad of an idea. Bro, but what about those who aren't here, like Mikado, Shinobi, and Nikkei? I don't think they'd listen to us. It doesn't matter, just checking between us will give us at least some sort of relief. And if something happens, they will be the most suspicious, right? I guess it's fine, but that would only prevent a murder happening at nighttime. Well, it's better than nothing, right? I'm in. Me too, so everyone here will now gather around every night before nighttime, right? You forget Setsuka, though. She is pretty late today. Wasn't she always the early bird up until this point? Yeah, I guess she overslept or something. Maybe she's hiding something. Hiding something. Like, for instance, she's actually a void. Yuki is now me. What, Setsuka is a void? It's like Lineage knew what I was thinking is now messing with me. Which would be surprising. You, this again, now you've made things awkward. I'm going to get real angry if you keep doing this. Yuki, did something happen? Something's been weird with you ever since yesterday. This isn't like you. What is being like me? What? You? Wait, Abiki, I understand how he feels. I know we agreed not to talk about the void, but things have changed a bit. True, the plan not to care about the voids and make them betray the mastermind through friendship failed. Emma's our prime example. She was clearly betrayed by Mikado and opened up to us, yet she was already on edge, having no choice but to follow the void's mission. Shinji, you didn't say yesterday that you had another plan or something. As Kanade said, I understand that the voids can't back out of this, but they do have a mind to side with us. They're probably on the edge between us and the void. Then what we need to do is the same, build a trusting relationship. We also need to find a way to save the voids from their despair. It's a bit hard to understand, but you're saying that we should find out the reason why they're on this plan and help them out that way? Just another armchair theory. What? Are we really in a state to help the Voids? We can't even save our own lives right now. How are we supposed to save the Voids when we can't even find a way out of here? And we're also expected to build a relationship with them? Hey Yuki, why are you like this all of a sudden? This is the best option we got. You said it yourself. Let's not think negatively. Then Yuki, do you have a better idea? No, but then that's what's your deal. Quit your sneers, man up, and tell me what's your problem. Tell your poor little Yu is a scaredy cat. Well, our poor little Yu is a scaredy cat. We all understand. All right, we'll find a way. How are you guys able to laugh it off? Huh? Bro and everyone else, are you all just okay with this? 4 people have died. I might be the next one. How are you all able to keep a straight face? Yuki? Hey, Yuki, what's wrong with you? Are you just feeling bad or something? You always smile. I think you're pretty awesome to be able to keep your head cool. To act natural despite all this. I'm not like you. I'm a talentless normal person. The super high school level lucky student. Only got lucky once. I'm not ultimates like super high school levels like you. I can't even sleep at night because I'm afraid. To be honest, I think that Nikkei is the normal one trying to act alone. Dude, are you serious? Shinji, no violence. Why am I always smiling? Do you know why I'm always smiling? I'm a firefighter. I always have to save people. Those who save shouldn't show fear, anxiety, or cry out. Because the more you do, the more afraid the people you're trying to save will get. That's why I smile, because I have to. You're not the only one afraid. We all feel the same. Just because we're all super high school levels doesn't make us not human, right? We're all just high schoolers like you. I understand how you feel, Yu. Just a few days ago, I acted the same. Honestly, if I was given the chance, I'd burst into tears right now. But I decided not to cry anymore. Suka did her best for me, so I'm going to do my best for you guys. Right, Yuki, I was once like you a long time ago, scared, trying to run away from everyone. I took out my anxiety on everyone, saying stuff I shouldn't have. We all feel the same. That's exactly why we need to keep each other, to help each other. I'm sorry, I knew that. I said this before, but Yuki doesn't look the best ever since yesterday. The ship is sailing anyway, so maybe you should take this time to take a rest. No, I'm fine, I just got confused, that's all. We just got through a class trial yesterday. Keep it up, Yuki. If you say stuff like that again, I might have to punch some sense into you. Regardless of what the rules say. Really shouldn't... Now, if everyone's settled, let's continue eating. Seems like Setsuka is gonna skip today. Though Yuka's sudden words made things a bit awkward, he himself admitted he was sorry, and it didn't lead to a big fight, so I guess it's fine now. But I also understand how Yuki feels. We all are scared, we just chose not to show it. Now that we have 4 victims, things will get much worse if we can't find some clues. Now that we've eaten and there's nothing to do in particular, I guess I should spend time with the others for a while. Satsuki, you're finally here. Oh, sorry, did you already eat breakfast? Already? You mean for quite a while until we finally gave up? We waited for you for quite a while until we finally gave up. Oh, that's so sorry, I had some business to attend. It's barely anything to do with the ship sailing. And you were always the first to come to our breakfast meeting. What were you up to? Well, I guess it's a secret. Well, anyway, I'm starving. I know it's a bit late, but I'll be having breakfast now. You did have some for Big Sis, right? You could say some for Big Sis or something like that. Yeah, although it's called cold now. That's fine. Well, I'll see you later, Rara. Something felt off with Setsuka, but decided to not ask any further. She would have things she'd like to keep for herself, considering what just happened in the diner. She'd also feel uncomfortable about the trial. As Shinji said, we should put those feelings aside and bide for our time. Picture of Ibiki, the girl who looked into the evil abyss. Okay. This is Setsuka's store. DK. What I care about right now is my coins and doing the draw. There's the twins. Okay, well, Ibiki likes those. Maybe Iroha would like that. Crowbar? Shoes. Whichever one liked in DRA. At least. Lust Setsugete Gekka. Comic book. Which I think Yuki likes that, right? Yeah. White Devil, which we know Shobai likes, but he didn't do my free time with it when I gave it to him. Candy pieces. Odd. Maybe Ibiki likes that. Don't know who likes that. Women's Fantasy. We already have one of those. It hasn't triggered an event yet, unless it's super early in the game before we got it. Tennis shoes. Whatever that is. Silver ring. Pilot goggles for even though the pilot's not here, more headphones. Ball gag. Maybe Immo would like that. Gold ring. More cursed books. More of that. Well, Kokoro liked that, but she's dead now. You know, Yuki likes that, but I already did all of his. More of that, whatever that is. Well, Yuki would like that, but I did already did all of his stuff too. Okay. Okay, we still have one we haven't got at least one of. Another missing one. Another missing one. Another missing one. 3 missing ones. Another missing one. Another missing one. Another missing one. Okay. Still a lot missing. We haven't got the women's fantasy trigger though to happen yet. And with that, we'll save my game and end. That was a good one. I got it right, but by wild guessing. I didn't have any of it figured out. I just kind of guessed, and I guessed right. Yeah. Cool. So I like how there's like this conversation between two characters at the end there, and one character tells the other character, count on Big Sis will something or other. I already forgot. But something about like count on Big Sis or whatever. Well, Big Sis could mean two people, right? Ibiki or Yoruko. So I like how it's like ambiguous between the two. So it's either Yoruko talking, it's someone talking to someone about Yoruko, or it's Ibiki talking to Kanade, or someone else talking to Kanade mentioning Ibiki. For some reason, I do not think Ibiki is part of Void. So I think it was that option, right? So, because Ibiki's the older one, right? So I think it was someone talking about Yoruko. Which coincides with when Lineage thinks that you would be suspicious that Yuriko is a member of Void, like I am. And Yuki's also suspicious of that. And then Yuruko shows up late. Everything's all like, Yuruko. But then Ibiki was in the channel. Then they decided to stick Ibiki in the title card for the chapter just to mix things up a bit. Maybe it's a double entendre. Okay. So we can cross Emma off. So Emma, I predicted would be the Chapter 4 Blackened. She turned out to be a Blackened. But not the Chapter 4 Blackened, the Chapter 2 Blackened, although that Chapter 2 had a Chapter 4-like flavor and complexity. So she is a Chapter 4 Blackened, she just did a Chapter 4 Murder in Chapter 2. And Kuroko died, who I thought would be the Chapter 3 Blackened, but she turned out to be the Chapter 2 Victim. That means that the Chapter 2 Victim that I've had down on my initial guess, Iroha, is still alive. And the Chapter 2 Blackened that I still had as initial guess, Nikkei, is still alive. So none of the people who I predicted to survive, which would have been Yoruko, let's see here, it says to be not listed death, Setsuka, Sora, Shobai, and Dotori. Motori doesn't have like a victim Blackened thing going on, are still alive. So the people that die are people I predicted would die, just would die later, right? So they died earlier than I thought they would. But my Chapter 3 Blackened, Kokoro is dead. One of my Chapter 3 victims, Hajime, is also dead. And the only Chapter 3 victim I have left is Ibiki. That has not yet died. So I have to come up with a new other Chapter 3 victim and Chapter 3 Blackened. My Chapter 4 Blackened has now died. My Chapter 4 victim being Shinji. So I have to pick a new Chapter 4 Blackened eventually. So, Chapter 5, yeah, Chapter 5 people are still around. So, yeah. Interesting. I might or may not think about it. Well, if you watched that, thank you for watching that. And I'll pick up with Chapter 3, which would be a double murder, of course. Unless Lineage decides to break the pattern in the next recording. Oh, whose free time events I'm going to do next? I don't know.